Hello everyone, доброго дня. Welcome to the Market Discovery Workshop for Benelux area. So over the 3.5 hours, you will gain thorough understanding of the startup ecosystem and market opportunities in Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg. The aim of this workshop is to share insights and opportunities available in Benelux area and align with testimonials from our entrepreneurs who were like you were searching for the host countries for their startups several years ago. Our workshop will be recorded and we will share the link on our Seeds of Bravery social media after our event. Please text your questions in the Q&A section and we will try to cover the answers at the end of our workshop. So thank you for joining us and let's begin. So we will start with workshop agenda and of course introduction. So my name is Ina Perepelica and I work for a Lux Innovation company and we are an innovation agency of Luxembourg. So we help researchers, startups and SMEs to innovate and we provide them access with knowledge, funding and infrastructure networks. Lux Innovation is part of consortium of Seeds of Bravery. So our agenda is quite intense today. It's split by 6 sections. Section 1 is Introduction and Geography Overview. Second section is about Netherlands. After we will go to Section 3, focus on Belgium. After we will go to Luxembourg. Of course, we will have a small break. Section 5 is going to be a regulatory environment for Benelux area. So our partner, DLI Piper, will answer to questions regarding the taxation and try to compare 3 countries. And of course, the last section and very important one, Q&A. Again, as a reminder, please text your questions to our Q&A section and we will cover it in the end of workshop. As a reminder, it will be recorded. You can share with your friends who did not manage to join today. And of course, during Q&A session, some of the questions, if we are not managed to cover, we will do a follow-up. Let me introduce Seeds of Bravery. Seeds of Bravery is a 20 million project funded by European Union under the European Innovation Council. And the main goal is to support Ukrainian tech startups to bring them closer to you. Consortium is really big. We have 17 organizations and 2 associated partners. Today, we have representatives from Lux Innovation, from Axis, from Erasmus Centre of Entrepreneurship. And of course, all our members also contributed to these workshops and upcoming workshops. So if you would like to know more about Seeds of Bravery, just go to our website and social medias. But in order to make you interested in this project, we have 5 streams with different grants for innovation services for entrepreneurship, rebuild Ukraine, and deep tech scale-up and deep tech incubations. The only you can apply for several of the streams, but the only limitations that you can get 60,000 euro in total grant. It's equity free. Additionally, we have other opportunities, and that is why you need also to apply, as if you are not a selected company for Seeds of Bravery, you would not be allowed to receive these amazing services. For example, matchmaking with investors, accelerators, or go-to conference, or female entrepreneurship and leadership programs. And now we are going to our next speaker. I would like to introduce Ata Engin, who is Innovation Lead at Erasmus Centre for Entrepreneurship. Dear Ata, please, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Ina. Hello, everyone. Very nice to meet you. As Ina mentioned, my name is Ata, and I'm the Innovation Lead at Erasmus Centre for Entrepreneurship. And Erasmus Centre for Entrepreneurship is an international center for entrepreneurship education and research. And what we do is we support aspiring and seasoned entrepreneurs to realize their entrepreneurial ambitions by providing them the insights, skills, and connections they need. And we do this through a range of programs, events, and other support structures that we offer. And while doing that, we always try to make sure that we are in close collaboration with entrepreneurs, academia, government, and our industry partners. So before we actually get to hear our great guest speakers today, I'll give you a very quick geography overview for the Benelux region as a Kickstarter for today. And I would like to just start by giving you a quick overview of the population, GDP per capita, and the languages spoken in the three countries that we will be discussing today. So if you look at the total numbers, the population in the Benelux region is around 30 million. And if we look at the GDP per capita, what we see is that Luxembourg is, of course, performing at the top when we look at the global rankings, but all three countries are actually in top 15 when we look at the GDP per capita. And of course, it's not one of the main indicators for ecosystem success, but we do believe that it's also a good indicator for the availability of resources for the entrepreneurs. And those resources could be in the form of the infrastructure, availability of funding, but as well as also the higher standards for living, which is very crucial for attracting and retaining talent in these countries. But I also would like to pull your attention to the very last row, where we are actually showing the official languages of these countries. In the Netherlands, the official language is Dutch, but Netherlands is the top country when we look at speaking English among the non-native English speaker countries. And in Belgium, the official languages are French, Dutch, and German. And in Luxembourg, we have French, German, Luxembourgish, and English. So I think that's already a very good indicator of showing us how internationally oriented these three countries are. And that's also very much visible when we actually look at the global startup ecosystem rankings. And what you see on the screen is coming from Startup Genome's very recently launched ecosystem ranking from 2024. And what we see is that the Netherlands is actually performing as number 13 in the global scale. And that's based on the categories of criteria that you see on the screen, such as the performance, and that's the performance of exits and the exit valuation and startup valuation, as well as funding in terms of the availability of funding and the activity of the local investors. And we have the talent and experience part, which is also looking into the density of developers, but also knowledge around life sciences and knowledge and experience around scaling up. And the market reach part is looking at the global and local market reach for the entrepreneurs. And when we look at the knowledge part, it's also touching more on the patents and the research part. And very similarly, when we look at the emerging ecosystem rankings, both Belgium and Luxembourg are performing as really top countries as well. And especially in Luxembourg, we see that it's especially performing really well for the pre-seed to scale stages. And when we look at the ecosystem value, which is calculated as the value of exits and the startup valuation, we do see that there is above 120 billion ecosystem value that is represented in these three ecosystems, as well as when we look at the total number of startups and scale-ups headquartered in the Benelux region, we see that there are almost 80,000 startups and scale-ups, and around 2,357 of them are in deep tech. And more specifically, if we look at the 40 unicorns in the Benelux region, we do see that they're ranging from industries such as health to fintech to transportation to enterprise software. But at the same time, the investment part is, of course, really important. And we do see that there are more than 5,000 active investors, in which more than 1,000 of them are actually focusing on deep tech. And when we look at these Benelux unicorns, 1/5 of their investors are actually also from the Benelux region, also with around 38% of them coming from the United States. But now I want to keep it here. So that's a very generic, quick overview for you. I just wanted to kickstart today, but I think we're all excited for the great guest speakers that we have, so that we can dig deeper into each country and start understanding their ecosystems better. That's why we'll actually jump onto section 2 now with a focus on the Netherlands. And so we have our guest speaker, Homera, with us, who is joining from the Netherlands Enterprise Agency. And the Netherlands Enterprise Agency is part of the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate Policy. And Netherlands Enterprise Agency is working within the Netherlands, but also abroad with governments, knowledge centers, international organizations, and many other partners to also encourage entrepreneurs in sustainable, innovative, and international business. So stage is yours, Homera. Feel free to turn on your camera and I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you so much, Atta, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Homera, and welcome. Atta, you already gave a short introduction about the Benelux, but I'm going to give you an overview of the Netherlands. So let me share my screen with you, and let's dive a bit deeper into the ecosystem in the Netherlands and how to start your business here. So as Atta mentioned, I work for the Netherlands Point of Entry, part of the Netherlands Enterprise Agency. And as a governmental organization, we're only here to advise and inform people that would like to start their own business here in the Netherlands. We look for the network for them, for instance, with the facilitator network, which I will dive into deeper with you today in my presentation. And we help with things such as legal procedures, financial requirements, and how the process of applying for a visa works. So these are all of our services, and of course we work for free, so also feel free to reach out to us afterwards if you have any questions or if you would like to start your business in the Netherlands. But before I tell you a little bit about all the visa regulations, I would like to start about some facts about the Netherlands. Why would you consider the Netherlands as a founder, as a person who would like to start their entrepreneurial experience here? And here's some reasons summed up. As you can see, the Netherlands has a high quality of life due to factors such as the strong economy, excellent healthcare, and a high standard of education. We're also ranked the 5th position as world happiest country, not unworthy to mention. And as you can see, we are a very safe and secure country. We have low levels of crime. We have usually a stable political climate, and we hope to have that still for the upcoming years. And of course, the excellent work-life balance, which makes it easier for you to also attract talent here in the Netherlands if you already set up your business here, and it also helps with your own life. Then the Netherlands, as a key player in the European zone, we often show this map being very central between many large countries such as Germany, France, the UK, which have the 6th, the 4th, and the 7th highest GDP in the world. And as you saw before, as Atta mentioned, we also have quite a high GDP ourselves, which makes it, I think, a very attractive country to live and work in and set up your business in, especially if you want to target the European market. We're very easily attainable with our harbor, our airports, etc., giving you a nice place to start in. We also have the most connected economy in the world. And as Atta also mentioned, it also really helps that a lot of people speak very good English, and that it's well known across many people in the Netherlands that they can help you with anything in English. So it really helps in the business area. Then we're also Europe's 5th most innovative economy, according to the Global Innovation Index of last year. We are also the number 4 best European country for startups. And Amsterdam is Europe's fastest growing startup ecosystem. So with numbers as that, I think it attests to the innovation and the growth in the Netherlands. And as you can see here, we have some key industries in the Netherlands that we excel at. I think, of course, you might know that we do really well with agriculture and food, with companies such as Campina, Mars, Ahold, Danone, that originated here in the Netherlands. Energy, life science and health, the creative industry, high tech, with, of course, ASML being in Eindhoven, logistics, the chemical industry, horticulture, and starting materials, and of course, water. Since we're below water level, I think it's very important for us to have good water management, and that we do. And a lot of small companies started here in the Netherlands that grew out to be multinationals. So as you can see, these are some of our unicorns, we would say. Adyen, Booking.com, Picnic, for instance, that grew out to be multinational, global companies that are doing really, really well. So to dive a little bit deeper into the visa schemes, I want to show you an overview of what we advise on. So there are 5 sets of visa that we advise on, but for you, I think the most relevant ones are the entrepreneurial visa, and those are the 2 I would like to explain to you a little bit further. So the startup visa is the first one, and then the self-employed visa. And I will explain the difference between the 2, and I will also discuss the criteria here. So let's say you are a non-EU startup founder and you would like to develop your own company here in the Netherlands and to start your business, then you would go for the startup visa. What the difference is between this visa and the self-employed visa is that here you see that it must be an innovative idea. So that's why one of the main criteria is to develop your innovative idea. And this can be a new product, this can be a new service, or a new way of providing your service, as long as you can show that it's an innovative way of seeing things. Then when you develop your innovative idea, that's step 1. And then you need to partner up with a facilitator. So what is a facilitator? The facilitator is the organization that can do 2 things for you. So the one thing they do, first of all, is to sponsor you on this 1-year visa. So the startup visa, they're your sponsor. They're recognized as well by the immigration services. And then second of all, they will also give you some mentorship. So this mentorship can be a one-on-one guidance on what it is you need in the first year of your startup visa, but sometimes it can also be an acceleration or incubation program or any other activity that might help you grow your business as fast as possible. So there are many facilitators. I will show you a list afterwards, but they can cater to your needs. So whether that's finding the right product market fit, finding investors, finding clients, for instance, with you, that is something they might assist you with. And then together with them, you would have to sign a facilitator agreement and then apply for the startup visa. So what we do in this process is to help you find the right facilitator. So what you can do if you want to start your own business, you just email us with your business idea or your business plan, pitch deck, and we will have a video call to discuss what your needs are, what your timeline is, and then we will partner you up with a facilitator. This does not mean automatically that you're in. You, of course, need to convince the facilitator of your business idea, and then the facilitator decides to sign a contract with you. Then there are some other checks. So you need sufficient means, which means that you need to have at least 16,000 euros minimum on your personal bank account at the moment of application. And this is just for the immigration services to see that you have enough money for you to sustain yourself in the first year of being here in the Netherlands. And then, of course, you need to register with the Dutch Chamber of Commerce. You have your agreement with your facilitator. And then in this agreement, next to the fact that they write down what they are offering you as a service and what you might offer them. So sometimes that's paying for a program or they are taking some shares in your company, then you would also need to write down your goals and milestones for the startup visa year. So after 1 year, the facilitator will also evaluate you based on these milestones to see, have you met them almost all or all, and do they think you would be able to survive as a company, as a startup after this 1 year startup visa. If that's the case, they would give you a declaration and you would go and extend your visa with the self-employed visa. So this is basically it. I promised you an overview of the facilitators. So as you can see here, we have, I think, around 30 to 35 Dutch startup visa facilitators in the Netherlands. And they're quite different. So in the sense that some of them are really industry focused, some of them are more broad, some of them are affiliated with universities. Basically, I think for every industry, you can find a facilitator that, that meets the criteria for you. If you do need some help with this, I would be more than happy to have a one-on-one call with you to explain this to you and to find the right facilitator for you. But I think for now, it's good to know that these organizations exist. Then the second second option for the visa was the self-employed visa, which I already explained. So usually for the startup visa, you're very early stage, you just have an innovative idea and it needs to be innovative. And then for the experienced entrepreneur, it's not a necessary thing to be innovative, and usually you already have some clients or you have some prospects in the Netherlands already. And the reason why usually a founder would go for the startup visa and not the self-employed visa is because this is a more rigorous process. So as you can see here, with the self-employed visa, you are evaluated based on 3 main criteria. So this is a scoring system. So for every part of these themes, you would get scores accordingly. So for instance, with theme A, your personal experience, you would then have to send in your resume, your diploma, and to send in how much work experience you've had, and of course to prove that you indeed had worked before at a certain employer, or you've had, for instance, your own company before this, and then we will look at that proof. And then for the second theme, or I would say the section B of the scoring system, we will look at your business plan. So how is your financial plan going to look like? Have you done a competitors analysis? What do you think you would cater? Yeah, like who is your target market, and why are you choosing the Netherlands, for instance, for that? And next to that, we will also look at prospects. So do you have any leads? Do you have any contracts signed, etc.? And then last but not least is section C, which is the added value for the Netherlands. And here we look at innovativeness. So you get points for that. You will get points for having some investments that were put in your company by third parties. And then last but not least, we will also look at the jobs you're creating in the Netherlands. So are you planning to hire people as well later on or not? So according to the scoring system, you would have to reach at least 90 points in total. So either 30, 30, 30 or 45, 45. And then we will advise the immigration services that indeed you have enough points to become self-employed in the Netherlands. Well, do get in touch with us afterwards via either our email, so the nl@rvo.nl. Also, feel free to look at our website. The Welcome to NL website was especially made for internationals that are looking to either set up their business in the Netherlands or work in the Netherlands and live in the Netherlands. it has much more information about the Netherlands. And on our own website, netherlandspointofentry.nl, you can find more information about the visa regulations that I just explained, and the other 3 that I have not addressed in this session. Then if you do plan to move to the Netherlands, there are also many expat centers and international welcome centers that are happy to help you out. And these regional or municipalities usually would then be happy to help you with all the small things that are, when you're in the process of moving abroad and when you need help with that. So whether that's finding the right schooling for your children if you have them, or to find health insurance, etc., these are the people that could help you with that. Thank you so much. That's my part of the presentation.
Thank you very much, Humera. I think it was a great start with the general introduction to the ecosystem in the Netherlands, but also the startup visa program in detail. So now, next up in the Netherlands section, we will actually look into more the Dutch investment and funding landscape. And we have Sander with us, who is the equity funding specialist at SeedBlink. And SeedBlink is actually one of Europe's fastest growing tech investment platforms. So stage is yours, Sander. Feel free to share your screen. I will turn off my camera.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so my name is Sander Peltenburg. I've been involved in the startup ecosystem for 12 years, had my own company for 7 years as a startup, and I'm now involved more in the equity funding side, helping startups to reach investment. And I was asked to tell you a little bit about the Dutch funding landscape. Let me share my screen and see if this is visible. So what I think European broad we have seen, or people say we're a little bit in a funding winter, but if you compare it to like the years of 2021 and 2022, which were very high in funding across the board, in the Netherlands we are quite stable. So the funding is down less than other countries, and that's because we have quite an established VC landscape with a lot of VCs in different segments. What we do see currently is that there is quite some issues in hiring new employees because the job market is quite under pressure. But it is quite interesting that we have a lot of international employees, which was already said in the presentation beforehand, working in the Dutch ecosystem. So we are very easy to attract also other international employees to help in your tech startup. It does mean that currently the compensations for employees in the Netherlands, especially in the tech startup scene, are quite up, which needs to be also reflected in the funding need. And we see quite some startups not taking that into account. So it's quite important one to think about when raising funding in the Netherlands. What we have been traditionally is quite good at involving other international investors in the Dutch startup scene. So especially when you look at the later stages of funding, Dutch companies are very good at raising international investment as well, which means that Dutch VCs are very known or know how to work with international VCs and also help you raise funding outside of the Netherlands itself. So in that sense, you're not only dependent on the Dutch VC scene, but they're also very able to help you attract international VCs, which makes it quite interesting because we have this international focus, which helps you raise more funding in the end. If you look at the top segments in the Netherlands, it was also touched upon a little bit earlier. Food is very big, always in the total VC investments in the Netherlands. Fintech is traditionally high, and also health tech is a segment where we see large investments in the Netherlands. But what we see currently is we are heavily reliant on profitability. So current investments are not being raised on ideas or vague notions, but investments in the Netherlands are really focused on getting companies to profitability So be very sure that you know your customer segment and know how to make a profitable company in the Netherlands, because otherwise it's almost impossible, especially in the early stages, to really attract investments. So for that, it's important to know the exact stage you're in and the plan you have. And this might be straightforward for all funding, but it's very important that when you're here and you want to raise funding, you know what kind of investors or parties to reach out to. If you look at VCs in the Netherlands, they probably will only become interested in your company if you're already making like 20,000 euros monthly recurring revenue. Fortunately, before that, we have quite a well-established infrastructure in the Netherlands, especially looking at grants and that sort of stuff. But I do want to stress it, the Dutch are quite direct. So if you haven't really defined your funding need, know exactly what you want to do, know your plan and stage, and know how to align with investors, they will probably shoot you down quite rapidly, move on, and don't think about it anymore. They won't be really polite. So make sure that the first interaction you make with an investor is already quite well prepared. So if you then look at funding, especially in the early stages, it requires quite a different approach than what was happening in 2021 and 2022. We are seeing quite a lot more of mixes of funding. So mixing government grants with loans, with early stage VCs. And especially in the later stages, you see more debt equity combinations than we did in the past years. So when you're going to the Netherlands, also look around what kind of other things there are. There are many instruments in the Netherlands to help you raise funding in those early stages. There are a lot of grants that help innovative startups. There are a lot of organizations that have specific challenges. So be sure, especially if you have a facilitator that helps you get into the Netherlands, ask them what kind of grants and other opportunities of funding are out there. Because it is quite difficult in those early stages to raise venture capital, but we have a huge amount of other options available. So don't be scared off by that, but be sure to bank on those opportunities. And if you then think about, okay, I'm in the Netherlands and how should I find funding, especially in these early stages, not knowing what the landscape is about, I would advise to always go to the regional development agency that is in your region. They are basically the government organizations that want to develop the area where they are active in and are very keen in new innovative companies and to help them land in their specific region. And they will also know about all the grants and that sort of stuff in their region. So be sure to reach out to them. Then there are also a lot of other opportunities in the government. We have a large network of startup officers. They are basically in all major municipalities and cities, in all major branches of the government. And you can easily reach them, and they are there to help you also find a connection with government parties or organizations that are in our area. And also we have quite some challenges with, for example, startups in residence programs that can help you get the first foot on the floor. If you then look at the tech-focused venture capital scene, we have many VCs, but be sure to reach them in their specific area. So know the stage what you're in. There are also quite some interesting accelerators in the Netherlands that are quite well established. They can also help you in programs with funding to get you off the ground in the first stages before you go really to the major VCs out there, because if you reach out to them without the stage and the knowledge of the plan that you're doing, then they probably won't even respond. So be sure that you know how to reach them. Then the final stage, of course, the Dutch startup scene is quite like any startup scene. Be creative about getting the right contacts. I highly advise everybody who starts in the Netherlands to participate in some sort of program to let you land, an accelerator or an incubator. You can ask your facilitator to help you in that. And the Netherlands has quite a well-established event landscape for startups. I always tell startups that I support to really know where you're going, because otherwise you can go to a startup event every day. But I already looked at the three for the coming 3 months that might be interesting for you. The first one is Slush in Enschede, which is a tech-focused spin-off of Slush, which is quite a high quality. Then in September, there's Level Up in the Eindhoven region, which is focused also around the Eindhoven University in ASML, which is one of the biggest established tech sectors of the Netherlands, which I would highly advise because it's a very big event with all relevant parties there. And the last one will be Impact Fest in November, which is in The Hague, and which also houses a lot of investors, startups, and a lot of interesting opportunities for you to find out. Then diving a little bit slowly on what kind of funding. In the Netherlands, if you look at equity funding, there are basically two major ones, the direct equity and the convertible loan. We do see some safes, which we often call in Netherlands also an EPOS. But Dutch investors, especially in the early stages, like the convertible loan because it gives some security to them. So in the early stages, pre-seed, seed, maybe Series A, but then you will convert more to the direct equity. You see a lot of convertible loans, so be sure that you know what the deal terms are in a convertible loan agreement. And also a lot of bridge rounds are currently done with convertible loans. And that was a little bit what I wanted to tell you about the investor side in the Netherlands.
Thank you very much, Sander. I think it was really nice to also get the basics and the general overview of the Dutch funding landscape. So thanks a lot for your presentation. So next up, actually, we have a practical example, and you can see a guest speaker with me here. So Vadim is actually joining me in person, and we will have a quick chat together. So we can already ask him how he experiences, first of all, the ecosystem in the Netherlands. And I think it's important to mention that he's also a startup visa entrepreneur from Ukraine. So he went through the process that Homera was actually mentioning in the first part. So we will also hear from his side how he practically experienced it. Welcome, Vadim. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hello.
I think my first question will be, can you start by introducing yourself a little bit and also your companies?
Okay. My name is Vadim, and I'm CEO and co-founder 8 companies. So I have a couple of companies in the Netherlands, in the US, and also in the UAE. Most of my time, what I do is my main focus or main domain is e-commerce. And also, I recently started with More Bazaar. It's more like marketplace for Gen Z. So we work with 3D, AR, VR technologies. It's quite tough, but this is what I really like. So this is what I focus. And also, what I also like is to share based on my experience. And this is what I always try to find time to discuss and to share and to inspire people.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then maybe you can also tell us a little bit more about your journey, how you ended up in the Netherlands, because I know you also lived in some other countries before.
Yeah.
So from Ukraine to the Netherlands, how was that journey? And then what made you choose the Netherlands in the end as well?
I tried to look at some kind of different places, for instance. So I wanted to move to Portugal, then to the UK, for instance, Canada, because a lot of countries, as far as you know, so they have kind of startup visa, or they might call them differently, but the same meaning. And before I came to the Netherlands, I had a company already here, and I heard a lot about the big potential in EU. And I just decided to stay here instead of US, for instance, because I have some friends and some colleagues, and I can expand business here. And the other options that was very important for me is networking, and also nearby Ukraine, because time zone is really important. That's why I didn't move to Australia, for instance, on the US, because to work with the people from from Europe, it's quite hard for long term. It was also big advantage that, you know, I tried to find a place for my business to be scale like that. But the most important reason that I'm here is because I've got an access to very good people, you know, very economics as well. Also access to in other countries across Europe. That's what I realized. And because for sure I've got experience in the past with my company that I got like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And then let's say if I ask it like, what were the top 3 reasons you chose the Netherlands? Because you mentioned the people and also access to the European market in general. But yeah, if you just think about like what were the top 3 reasons for you to make that decision, what would those be?
Freedom in this country.
Yeah.
Language.
Language meaning?
Yes.
Because of
I mean,
English?
English language, yes, because it's so easy to discuss, you know, you don't, for sure it's very good to know the language, Dutch language, but it's also that you can start recently like working and expanding your network. And this third, big potential, but as far as I can see.
Meaning, how would you describe that potential?
With the startups here, for sure. So I see it's the country really focus on that. We can discuss how it goes, very slow, it's not so, but I see they have a vision to make it happen.
Okay, wow, that's great. But then what I also want to ask you is, of course, these 3 were the reasons you wanted to come here. And of course, coming from another country to the Netherlands, you go through a certain adaptation phase yourself as well. So what I want to ask you is, of course, the business part is also very important, but also just in your day-to-day life, how was that adaptation part for you? Also, I know you came here with your family actually.
Yeah.
So how was that situation for you in general? Any challenges, any tips and tricks that you would like to share?
Yeah. First of all, for sure, expectations, I would say. Yes, expectations were more like, you know, it's not easy always, yes, because you have to. I lived in the different countries across Europe, and every country is unique. So I would suggest not to expect that, you know, you come and just people just, they always want to help, but it's all about you, how you react, how you be adapted to make it happen, how you open your heart, you know, to just give and get more other stuff from different people and not to judge straight away from some kind of stuff. The second option is for sure it's a different lifestyle. So I also realized like it's more like, because I always work, you know, like in Ukraine and then the US, like, you know, more tough and working hard. But what I see in the Netherlands, it's more than like life and work balance, you know, when you work like 8 hours, which is absolutely fine. But sometimes for startup, you need to do extra mile, right? Because if you have someone like a competitor, you want to beat that competitor, you need to do a little bit more efforts. And this is what I realize when people come, they're very quite, you know, they quite excited to do something better. And then I see like slowly, they like some of them they went down because they want to be, you know, in the same position, because your environment is really important. Yes, if someone doesn't work too much, you also think like that sometimes. That's what I see. And for me, it was a problem to find people in this country with the same mindset. Once again, for me, it doesn't mean that people need to work 24 hours, you know, a day. But if you want to move, you have to expect to do a little bit more stuff in your personal life, because you have to understand how the system works, everything, right? So insurance, as if your wife is get pregnant, you know, you have to understand how it's going to be for your family with exchange driving license or whatever. It's a lot of stuff. and it takes some time. Yeah, and from the other stuff, you need to grow your business. You want to start from some. In my particular case, it wasn't from zero, from scratch. But if some people wants to move, they need to have a passion.
So you actually find that work-life balance sometimes challenging in the entrepreneurial phase, because people tend to also like prioritize their work-life balance over sometimes.
Yes, because there are a lot of competitors. Yes, if you want to start from zero and you have to beat and you have to compete with other competitors, for sure, it's always extra mile, right? In thinking, in spending your time.
Yeah, and I'm sure you found a way to also deal with that challenge, right?
Yeah.
Because maybe it's through the team that you put together or through the people that you are working together with. So what I'm also curious about is, at points where you find this work-life balance to be a challenge for you, how do you deal with that? And how do you still use the Dutch market to your advantage to still...
What I used to do, I just found a very good places like EC and the place when we are now in Mekala. So the people who had the same mindset I have. This is very important.
Okay.
I have a mentor and he always told me, follow the people you admire. Follow the people who are more successful than you are. Yes. So this is what I will try to find and try to be in the place when I see the same people. I mean, the same mindsets. They also work hard. They understand what they do. They have a goal. They have a concrete roadmap, what they're going to do tomorrow. Yeah. So it's also affects and it drives me.
Yeah. And what you mentioned is you found people and places that are like-minded to you to actually deal with that. So what I also want to ask you about is, of course, for entrepreneurs who might be considering to relocate here, sometimes places like co-working spaces or certain incubators, accelerators, or support structures are also important, of course, because they are part of the ecosystem and they are also setting you for success if you choose them correctly. So what I wanted to ask you is, how did you experience that in terms of the co-working spaces or other support structures? And so are there any tips and tricks that you might want to share about it as well?
Likely I found EC, it was really easier for me because what I want to say is EC provided space for my company and also network for that. In my particular case, it was really quite fast and understandable. But from the other hand, I know there's a lot of places across the Netherlands that you can rent a small office or dedicated desk. It's not about that. We have everything. It's all about plan. If you have a plan, if you have a vision, what you want to do, what you want to achieve, you always find something, right? And the right place. For me, it wasn't very important to have a proper, furnished office because I had a goal. Yes, I had a goal. I just needed a place and I can be focused and just work and doing what I want. So, but once again, EC provided that, first of all, it was dedicated desks and I had an office, my own office. And then I moved to Microlab and we are here finally, right? So, and my advice would be just, if someone wants to relocate and money is always struggle, right? So just don't have a big office or don't. It's good to think big, right? But it's just like rent a couple of desks for your team or just one desk if you're alone. And just try to start from something at the beginning to really understand what do you need instead of having a commitment for like contracts or whatever. So try to be flexible as much as possible. This is my advice. It's very good to be flexible at any point, and that flexibility could be found in any working space that you can really rent a dedicated desk or just share a desk, whatever.
Okay, well then I actually want to bring the conversation back to the challenges. because we started with the reasons why you chose the Netherlands, and you mentioned, of course, the wide English-speaking community here that helped you a lot, and then you mentioned the access to the European market in general, but also although you had some struggles with the work-life balance sometimes, you still said, "I love how people here have a big vision, and that also inspires me as an entrepreneur." So those are the reasons why you chose the Netherlands. But of course, for the participants, we would like to also, very transparently show the process and also, tell your experience. So what I want to ask you about is, so what were the challenges? Of course, you mentioned the work-life balance, but were there other challenges that you experienced in your move to the Netherlands or as an entrepreneur in the Netherlands? And also, I'm interested in how you are solving those challenges, because I'm sure as an entrepreneur, you always find ways to solve those challenges. So if you can mention a little bit about that.
Yeah. Before moving, first of all, for non-EU, citizens, it's quite tough. Because as far as I understand, and I was really surprised because I didn't know that, to be honest, but it's accepted about 100, 200 startup visas or even kind of more per year in the Netherlands, right? So it's quite tough program, to be honest, because you have to follow the rules. You have to get those points. You have to show that you have at least proven idea. Yes, it's really important, because if it's fake, let's assume yes, or it doesn't work, and you know that you can't prove it because it's not going to work even after 1 year of your idea being here in the Netherlands. So it's very important to understand it's not easy, but it's possible. And this is a way for dreamers. This is a way for people who really, know what they want to do. They really are going to get the challenges and to understand it and to overcome those challenges. This is the first point. Startup visa. It's really, as one speaker
Yes. Yeah.
Mentioned, it's tough because you have to prepare a business plan. Business plan has to include everything, like your financial projection, market size, and your business model, your team, your funding, whatever. It's hard. It's really hard to make it possible, especially not on the paper, but you really need to execute it, right? And you need to be honest with yourself. It's something that it's possible for you. The second point, which I've got challenge as well, is to be adapted here, to adapt here. I mean, just accept it's a different world, it's a different country, because it's all its own culture, its own lifestyle, and also the processes that I might not accept at the beginning, for example, or I was surprised. But then I accept that because this is how it works. And I don't know, but the other point would be also, it's for sure, it's getting access to the capital. This is for sure, it's not the US, it's not the Silicon Valley, it's that we can get more money. It's also a challenge because less for sure. The US, even other countries like Germany, for instance, right? So it's less capital, but it's possible. If your idea is really great, you could be selected. But once again, you have to have a proven idea, first of all, right? So you have to have traction, because idea is not enough anymore. Anywhere in the US, easy money is gone after COVID or during COVID times. That's what I see, because I also have a company in the US. It's also pretty, I would say, it's really hard to get funded right now. Money now it's more like it's not easy money anymore, as I said. So capital and and also I would say the people that with a mindset, the right mindset, that I feel it's also was a challenge, because for me it took a lot of time to find that. Now it's easier because my networking expanded for sure, and people nearby me with that's the same mindset. it's more easier.
Yeah, and that's actually what I wanted to follow up on, because what I'm curious about is, of course, when you come from another country to the Netherlands, you spend some time to actually get to know the ecosystem and the network in general. And ways of networking and how you get to know that ecosystem might be different in different cultures in different countries as well. So what I'm curious about is, how did you experience that whole very first networking moment for you, and how did you get to know the ecosystem, and how does that work for you as well?
For that moment right now, as best social media that was created for business is LinkedIn. Yes, it's a very right place that you can always find people. Also, for sure, the program and the company itself, like EC, for instance, it's also possible always, like because you have a lot of also like events that people can really easy can get. Yes, and some of them they are for free. Yeah, so you don't need to get money, you just need to be focused, you just need to find those organizations and just to go there. There's not about money, it's about, okay, just having a plan, once again, how to expand that network. So first of all, it's LinkedIn. You can always find people that you can follow. You can try and organize a meeting, try to get some, information and partnership, whatever. The second point is just to try to find a list of organizations that you can always also have some, expand your network by joining any groups or events, for instance. And this is the right place, right? Because when you see people face to face, you can always discuss, you can always engage those people.
Yeah. So then I have one final question, actually. You are a serial entrepreneur. You have a lot of different companies, of course, but especially when it comes to the Netherlands and how you perform here as an entrepreneur, I'm curious about what's your next big vision? What's your next big thing now? What are you striving towards as an entrepreneur, and how is the Netherlands helping you with that?
Good question, because partly answer. So because we are both of us, I can say, right? So we are both involved in the big project probably that we have a not only dream, but we have a goal to create a proper innovative hub in Rotterdam. Yes, that people can work, live. They can use all the tools and networking there. It's something similar to Unit City in Ukraine that I remember. That's what I want to really build in this country, because I strongly believe it's first of all, it's possible. The second, it's very useful, very valuable to the people like me who comes to the country, and I want them to have an access for all in one, I would say, place when people can really get the help from some personal stuff, like how to get insurance, whatever, to like a personal, life and accommodation with a Unit City place where they can live, they can work, they can create very funny and very innovative stuff in this country.
Yeah, I hope it will be real very soon.
Yes, and I can also add the last. I also big dreamer that we can have some kind of special tax regime in that territory, or it could be in the future. Who knows?
Yeah, of course, it's a dream, but we'll see if it comes true.
It's really hard, but it also can attract some other entrepreneurs to come to this country, because it would be more easier for them with the taxation.
Yeah, but then thank you very much, Vadim. Thanks a lot. I think it was very useful for also the audience to hear your practical experience coming here, but also being an entrepreneur here. So actually, that is the end of the Netherlands section as well. I see Mathilde there, so we will be actually moving towards the Belgium section now. So thank you very much, everyone, for listening to the Netherlands section, and the stage is yours, Mathilde.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again, Vadim and Atta, for this really interesting testimony, and thanks again to our two previous speakers for the really helpful presentation. So we will now move to the next section of this workshop, which is about my home country, Belgium. To make you discover this market, we will have three knowledgeable speakers. Let me first introduce to you Olivier van Orshoven, who is head of startup Flanders. Olivier will tell you everything about Flanders and how you could collaborate in that innovative ecosystem. Welcome, Olivier. I will now give you the floor, and if you could please open your camera and share your screen.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mathilde. Just a moment. I hope you can all see my screen. Just a moment.
Yes, it's perfect now, Olivier.
Okay. Sorry. Okay.
If you can just turn on your camera, maybe, Olivier.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Thank you.
So hope my camera is on now. Okay.
Yes.
So my name is Olivier van Orshoven. I work for Flanders Investment and Trade, and I run a specific division which is called Startup Flanders. And we are an expert division for all the startups to help Flemish startups go abroad, to help foreign startups setting up shop in Flanders, and to represent our ecosystem abroad. So first, before I start, a small glance of who we actually are and what we do. Like you know, Belgium is a federal country, so we have very large and strong regional governments, and every region in Belgium is responsible for its own trade and investment policy. And so I'm representing Flanders, which is the northern part of Belgium. So Flanders is an area of 6.5 million people. But thanks to our good location in the center of Europe, and that will be also said by several other speakers in this session, because Benelux has a very central position in Europe. But thanks to that position, as a small region, we are a very strong economic power. We are the 15th largest exporter in the world, and we are responsible as a small region for almost 2% of the total global export in the world. And our main export products are, of course, the chemistry and the pharma. As you know, we have the largest chemical cluster in Europe and the second largest in the world after Houston. And of course, due to that central location in Europe and the very strong infrastructure, transport is, of course, also and logistics is, of course, a very important sector in Flanders. Like I said, Flanders has a very central location in the heart of Europe, and but that's of course the fact for all the countries in the Benelux. But this region, the Benelux region, 60% of the European consumer market is in a 500-kilometer radius around this area, which makes it, of course, very interesting for doing business. But it's not about our central location and our economic power that I'm here to speak, but I prefer to speak about our innovation that we have in Flanders, and based on that innovation, the very vivid startup ecosystem that we have in Flanders. So in Europe, you have 5 European innovation leaders, Belgium, the Netherlands, and then the Nordic countries. And Belgium is one of those 5. If we look at Flanders level, so we contribute to that European innovation leadership thanks to our R&D expenditure. 3.6% of our GDP of Flanders is actually spent on R&D investments. That's extremely high. Just to give you an idea and to put it in perspective, there are only two countries in the world who do better, and that's South Korea and Israel. Only those countries spend more on R&D based on their GDP than Flanders. And those spendings are not government spendings. No, most of those spendings are actually done by companies, by large companies, small companies. So not only the government and the universities, but it's actually a very commercial R&D expenditure. The reason why we have so much success on the innovation level is that we have a very strong clustered system. Being small is not always an advantage, but in this case, it's definitely an advantage in the sense that everybody knows everybody actually. And we have a very good interconnection between the industry and the startups, between the government and between academic institutions. And it is actually the collaboration between those three main actors that we are so successful in innovation and that we are able to valorize innovation in a very commercial way. So everything starts actually with our universities, and we have 5 universities in Flanders. All universities belong to the top 3% in the world, 2 of them in the top 1% of the world. And the KU Leuven, for instance, is even considered by the Thomson Reuters schedule as the most innovative university in the world and in Europe, and the 7th in the world. So this is actually the very strong basis that we have. Those are the universities, the talent that we create, but also the ideas and the innovation. But having the universities is just one thing, because university is still a very theoretic organization. And so for startups and valorization, that's not always a very good place to collaborate. So that's why we created in Flanders R&D centers. And we have 4 R&D centers in Flanders, all world known. And those R&D centers are actually the playgrounds where the industry, where the government, and where that university meet, where they collaborate, and most important of all, where they valorize innovation and research. So for the moment, we have 4 R&D centers, the VIB, which is number 3 in the world for biotechnology and life sciences. We have IMEC. IMEC is the largest nanotechnology research center in the world, and one of the 3 strategic research centers in Europe, embedded in the €1 billion CHIP Act. We have FITO. FITO is sustainable chemistry, energy, and we have Flanders Make, which is more focused on product development and the industry. So these are actually playgrounds where industry, where universities, and where the government meet to research, valorize research. But the good thing is that all those research centers, they have acceleration programs, they have incubators, they have access points for startups and scale-ups to collaborate on a research level, but also, like I said, to commercialize their products. On the other hand, we have a government, and the government is, of course, since we are focusing so much on R&D, we have a very extensive scheme of grants and subsidies for startups. We start on the ideation phase. From that point on, we start with grants and subsidies. I will not go into detail, but we start with ideation phase. We go over viability testing, prototyping, even setting up pilot projects until implementation. And these are all grants and subsidies from the Flemish government. So we do not take equity. It's really a grants and subsidy scheme. And combined with that, we have in Belgium, tax system is a Belgian prerogative. We have a very friendly tax system, of course, also based on R&D, because that's an extremely important anchor point for our industry here in Belgium. We also have a network, a governmental network in the world. So like I said, I work for Flanders Investment and Trade. We are an FDI agency. We have a representation in 90 countries, 90 countries, which is quite a lot actually for a region with only 6.5 million inhabitants. But we have actually a network of business-oriented points where you can have access to the local business environment. So even if you set up a company as a foreign entrepreneur in Flanders, we help you, and you're considered from that moment onwards as a Flemish company. And so we help you doing business around the world. But on top of that, we also have an additional layer of science and technology offices. We have 10 for the moment, all specialized in a specific field. But these are all people coming from startups, coming from VCs, coming from universities, and they can speak on R&D level and technology level. So they can look into your technology and look for the right partners, look for the right universities, and look for the right customers in the countries you are interested in. For the moment, we have 10 science and technology offices, but we will broaden our scope and we will add 2 more by the end of this year. So the combination of all this collaboration on different levels brought Flanders actually to the top innovation charts worldwide. And it brought us actually as third most innovative economy in the world. We house actually the best university business accelerator worldwide, which is IMEC iStart. Remember IMEC as one of the R&D centers I talked about. So IMEC iStart is that access point to that large nano and semicon R&D center, but it's considered as the best business accelerator. We have the 7th most innovative university in the world, and we have 3 bioincubators who belong actually to the top 25 in Europe. Now, this ecosystem, this innovative ecosystem, and this quite structured innovative ecosystem, this has a positive effect on the growth of our startups, of course. And for the moment, if we look at the figures, we generate about 110 new startups each year in Flanders, which makes us one of the fastest growing startup ecosystems in Europe. We host about 2,600 startups and scale-ups. And our enterprise value of the ecosystem was 36 billion, but by the end of this year, we probably touched the 50 billion euro mark. If we dive a little bit further into what kind of startups and what kind of ecosystem do we have in Flanders, well, 70% of the startups that we have in Flanders are B2B driven. This is quite logic because we are a very small region, which means we have a small domestic market. And so that's not always very easy for B2C markets to scale from a small domestic market. Nevertheless, we have very good connections around us with France and with Germany and the Netherlands and everything. We have a very well connected infrastructure and a very good location in Europe. But it's very good to understand and to keep in mind that 70% of the startups we have are B2B driven, which means that the ecosystem that we have, the funds that we have, all the grants and the subsidies we have, the incubators and the specializations and the experts that we have in our startup ecosystem are more focused actually on B2B and have more expertise in B2B than it is in B2C. If we take a look on the verticals and the sectors we're active in, that's always a very difficult question because I always forget the sector. We have a very broad startup ecosystem. So I always try to explain based on the business models, the type of startups that we have in our ecosystem and the type of startups that we can help from abroad. And if we look at the McKinsey model, which are the startup business models, the 4 known startup business models, if we look at the network and the scale startups, those are the typical startups like Uber, like Deliveroo, like Zalando. Those are startups, they need huge markets, they need a lot of money to scale enormously. Well, these are the kind of startups that we do not have in Flanders, and we do not have an ecosystem to support this kind of startups. What do we have on the other side are more the product focused startups, especially the SaaS, B2B SaaS based startups, and also deep tech. Remember, also our Dutch colleagues mentioned it. Deep tech is a very important is a very important asset that we have in the Benelux region, so also in Flanders. But product-based startups and deep tech-based startups, these are the kind of startups that we have in our ecosystem in Flanders, for which we have our funds, for which we have our incubators, expertise, and access points. So these are the kind of startups that we're looking for. Scattered over different verticals, like from clean tech, energy tech, sustainable chemistry, health tech, nanotechnology, semicon. So as long as innovation and R&D is your key component in your startup, then we can actually help. Now, just to make sure that we open Flanders more to attract foreign startups to Flanders, we created actually within Flanders Investment and Trade a separate unit. We just started a year ago, which is called Startup Flanders. And Startup Flanders is actually a representative of the full ecosystem in Flanders. It's the access point to the startup ecosystem in Flanders. So we are government owned, which means we do not take equity. We do not have a portfolio. We do not have membership. We're not linked to a university or a city. No, we just represent the full ecosystem and can guarantee an independent access to all the types of companies or research centers you are interested in, which means that Startup Flanders is making sure that you have access to all our cities, to the incubators and the accelerators we have, but also the universities, the VCs, the investors, and of course, our industry clusters. So this is actually in a nutshell what we do, what Startup Flanders is, how our ecosystem looks like. And if you would like to have a deep dive in our ecosystem, you're very welcome to dive into our database, which is freely accessible. And there you see the link. And there you have a good overview of all the type of startups we have, incubators we have. And if you find the perfect match for you, you're of course free to contact us and we can help you further. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Olivier, for this really interesting presentation. We will now continue with another Belgian region, with Wallonia. And I will now invite Emily Delannoy to join us. Emily will bring a wealth of knowledge from her role as a business developer at AWEX. Emily, the floor is yours for the next 15 minutes. So if you can please share your screen.
Yes. With great pleasure. Thank you, Mathilde, for the introduction. Do you see my screen?
Yes, but you need to do the sharing. Yeah. Yes.
No, normally it's full screen, so I cannot see you anymore. So if there is any question or anything, just let me know. So thank you, as I said, to let me present the southern French-speaking region of Belgium. I also want to thank Olivier for the explanation over Belgium. So yes, it is a regional, a federal country. And so here I will talk in the name of the Wallonia Export and Investment Agency, which is, of course, the supports Wallon business in exporting and foreign companies in establishing operations in Wallonia. So we offer a range of international services and assistance that I will describe to you during this presentation. And unfortunately, we discovered a few minutes ago that the video I prepared is not working with the sound, but what I can try to do is to launch it and comment it in direct if it can work. Perfect. So the idea here is to show why Wallonia could be the right place for your business, considering the fact that it is very close to Brussels, which is the second largest diplomatic center in the world. This is one of the advantage of the region, but as it was said by Olivier, in Belgium and in the Benelux in general, we are all in a central location. So we are very close to more than 300 million consumers within a 5-hour drive. And we are lucky because in Wallonia, we are also leaders in logistics, meaning that not only by road, but also by boat, by river, by air, you can go to anywhere in Europe. So you can export your solution to anywhere in Europe very easily. We have everything ready to do so. Especially the Liège airport that was chosen by famous, world famous companies to develop their activities. So we are in Belgium the fifth most attractive country to invest in. This was also explained very well by Olivier, and we have room to welcome you in Wallonia. So there is really a lot of opportunities to find the best place among the business parks, among the buildings and so on that are available to, if you want to, locate your company. So of course there are also some interesting facts about Belgium: the beers, the French fries, of course, the castles, what I say, the cultural interesting facts. But most important for you maybe is the fact that we have a lot of highly qualified talents available in Belgium, thanks to our 5 universities in Wallonia, so same as in Flanders, more than 25 competence centers as well. So a lot of, let's say, STEM profiles, a lot of technical profiles as well, scientific profiles that are already available or working, especially in Louvain-la-Neuve, where a lot of famous companies are already active. So this is one part of what is interesting, as well as the highest European productivity. So what matters here is that we have a lot of experience in the exportation, because most of our products and services are being exported to any part of Europe or worldwide. We cannot eat all the chocolate that we are producing in Belgium, that's for sure. The tax charges, so the attractive measure was explained by Olivier, so I won't repeat, but yes, you can benefit from a subsidy for research and development, and we can, in addition to that, benefit from other subsidies from the Walloon region. So we also want to make sure that you benefit from all the funds you need to improve or to go forward with your innovative project in Wallonia. Here, I will come back to the sectors of activity in a few moments, because there are a lot of interesting things to say about that. And well, the rest is more about interesting facts regarding Belgium. You all know that. You all know that we prefer to forget about football at the moment, but let's talk about hockey, let's say, where we are good as well. So from here, I will stop this video. There are a lot of business associations and so on. The saxophone was born in Belgium, but all of that, you can discover it in the presentation afterwards. Maybe something important to know is the multilingual advantage. So we have 3 national languages in Belgium, which facilitates, let's say, the way you can export to France, Germany, Netherlands, because you can already rely on people that have this experience to export in these countries as well, and they are very used to work with Belgian and Walloon companies already. Oh yes, and the Smurf, that was the last part of the video. So what does it mean, Wallonia seen as a land of innovation? It means that we have a lot of remarkable infrastructures and ecosystems in Wallonia. And, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to start this one. And my job is to make sure that among all the facilitators that you can see on this screen, you will meet the right person at the right moment, meaning that, well, there is at least 1, 2, or 3 facilitators that are experts in your domain of expertise as well. And so the idea is to activate the network, to do it for free, of course, and to guide you through all the key stakeholders that are present in Wallonia. I've included all the link to these facilitators so that you can explore the websites afterwards, thanks to the presentation you will get. And yeah, of course, I forget to say that we focus in Wallonia on the Smart Specialization Strategy, the S3, which is the European Union initiative that encourages regions to focus on their resources on on areas of innovation where they have a competitive advantage compared to other regions of Europe, and our best strengths are on the life sciences and engineering sciences. And this is why I will focus on these specific sectors during the rest of this presentation, because all of the rest, let's say, of the activities of innovation in Belgium, deep tech, clean tech, biotech, we talked about a lot already with all the people this afternoon, the medtech, the sports tech, and so on, are, let's say, linked in a way or another to life science or to engineering sciences, where we focus all the efforts in Wallonia. And so, first thing first, if you would like to choose Wallonia to locate your company, you will have to set up your company in Wallonia, and to do so, we have created with WSL the soft landing program for techno entrepreneurs. So you can see on the screen how it works, what are the different steps that we can propose, and we work in close collaboration with WSL. So this is a unique service in Europe. This is the one stop shopping in Central Europe to let's say, locate your company in a place where it can go to any part of Europe where you want to go to grow very fast and to grow easily, let's say. So this program aims at allowing innovative startups to attack the European market. I just said so, and it can be activated at any time. So you can visit the website and you can apply whenever you want. If you want more information, do not hesitate to come back to me or to send me an email or to connect on LinkedIn, and I will be more than pleased to give you all the information you would like to have. Sorry, I just lost one part of what I wanted to say. No, it's
just
quite
to let
clear.
you know, currently we're still seeing companies, not the soft landing steps. I don't know if that's normal.
Oh no, normally you should be. Oh, this is why there was something wrong in my screen once again.
Okay. Now that's good.
Okay, thank you very much, because it was frozen from my side as well. And now, do you see the soft landing program? Is it?
Yes. Now it's the soft landing program.
Okay, thank you, because yeah, okay, my notes weren't appearing neither. Where was I? Yeah, so to give you an idea of the whole process of the soft landing program, first it begins with the rapid creation of a legal structure, and we check the most important points and aspects, such as the intellectual property protection and so on. Then the business coach of WSL and the candidate will use different tools, methods, and processes to enable products and services adaptation to European standards and certifications. And as you know, this part is really important, because in Europe, depending on which country you would like to export your solution to, well, there are a lot of certifications, different certifications you have to get in life science and engineering sciences. And finally, the commercialization and exportation can start. And this is at this stage that the AWEX is back in the game to support you, and where the loop of success normally is completed. So the soft landing program is also a way to guarantee you to create connections with various strategic partners, such as universities, R&D centers, funding institutions, and so on. We just said so. But not only in Wallonia, it is also worldwide, thanks to the strong and the growing community of companies that were already successes. And that were already supported by WSL and DAWEX. So you can have a look at the website if you want to know more about these companies in particular. And I really invite you to do so, because these are really interesting stories. And then once everything has been set up by the soft landing program and WSL, you can benefit from all the other services that are proposed by AWEX, which are more than 25 financial and non-financial aids and services, as you can see on the screen. The important part of this slide is that we are also very objective because our service is free and they are cumulative. So all of what I can do for you is absolutely, let's say, for free. And yeah, I have to be objective. So my aim is to make sure that you meet the right stakeholder with, let's say, no other interest than your interest in this connection. And so for the whole process, do not hesitate once again to come back to me about the diagnosis of maturity for internationalization, because of course, once you are ready, we will make sure that you have all the, let's say, that you are really ready. So we will challenge the project, and if there is something missing, we will make sure to find what you need to be ready to export. I just forgot to say that we can also put you in contact with let's say, investors, because as it was said before during this presentation, you might be looking for fundraising, you might be looking for sources of financing, and even if we are not an investment fund, we can definitely make sure that you will meet different kinds of investors, venture capitalists, and so on. I really invite you to have a look at the information I've put on LinkedIn this morning, because this is one example of the events we can organize for you, and we can invite you to pitch your project and to find business angels or any other way to finance your project. I don't know where I am on the time because it doesn't appear on the screen. I hope I have still
Yeah, let's say
few
about
minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay, thank you very much. And so to finish, well, this is a list of the. It is not exhaustive at all, but this is a list of the services, example of services that we can provide you at the AWEX. We are more than 400 people working at the AWEX, among which more than 90 are economic and commercial advisors that are spread all over the world. So we have experts located in different regions of the world that can introduce you to the ecosystems there and to make sure that your project will be a success from the beginning in different countries of the world. I have a special mention for the technological missions and the Wallonia Tech projects. I really invite you to have a look at our internet website over these two specific services that are really dedicated to innovative startups and companies. And for the rest, well, let's talk about it together if you want to, so that I can describe in more details everything that can be do for you and for your innovative project. And to finish, I really wanted to say that because, yes, Wallonia is a great region to live in. I don't say that only because I am Walloon myself and I really love my region, but I invite you, if you one day come to Wallonia for business, to let me know so that I can make sure that you will feel inspired and that you will be willing to stay. And I will finish on this. Let's keep in touch. As I said, do not hesitate to invite me on LinkedIn and to talk about your project later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Emily, for sharing all those insights on Wallonia with us. We will now move on to our last Belgian speaker, and I will invite Anne with her experience as a manager at Bureaucracy. Anne will share our valuable perspective on the investment landscape in Belgium. Anne, we're delighted to have you, and the floor is yours for the next 15 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mathilde, for having me here and giving a glimpse about the investment landscape in Belgium. So let me start by sharing my screen, put it on full mode. Probably not working yet. So here we go again. share screen. So now it should be better. Can you see it? Is it okay?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, fine. Well, maybe just my starting. So I'm Anne Meers. I'm Euroquity Belgium manager and working at Wallonie Entreprendre. In short, we say we. And we is the enterprise agency business development bank of Wallonia, as mentioned, one of the 3 regions in Belgium, the southern one. And we have in 3 main activities, that is information, awareness raising, support, funding, and loans and guarantees at the service of entrepreneurs in Wallonia. And my role as Euroquity Belgium manager is about connecting innovative startups and scale-ups with VC investors and advisors. By one hand, the platform, it's a platform that's owned by BPI France. It's an international platform, it's free to use, and it's really a purpose to connect entrepreneurs looking for funds with investors and the advisors. So that's the mission of the Euroquity platform. But now let's have a look at the investment landscape in Belgium. And we already heard a little bit about that from different regions. And we can also say that it's quite comparable to the presentation that was given for Netherlands, as the investment landscape is quite similar if you look at the venture capital in Belgium. But let me maybe start with a small result of the study that was driven by PwC and BVA, which is the Belgium Venture Capital Association, in 2023. With the same outcome, more or less, than the Netherlands. We have seen during and post-COVID that valuations really reached historically high. But then with a major drop, almost was inevitable from the start of 23. And then we had inflation coming up, we had energy prices that really skyrocketed. So it was really the recipe for a more protective investment strategy. So with more focus from the funds on reinvesting in the current portfolio and really increasingly prudent for new investments. But we have the first signs of hope, because today was published, I think, in the Echo journal about the final increase about capital attraction by Belgian startups. The first signs of it noted over the past 6 months. So that's really positive. And as we know, venture capital is a vital role in fueling innovation, driving economy, and transforming our industry. So very important for us. And coming back a little bit more on this study that was done by PwC and BVA, I put the link to it in the presentation, so you can always have a look at it more in detail. But a bit as in the Netherlands, same here. VC investments decreased in the past years in Europe, also in Belgium, and that was both in deal value as in the number of deals. But the decrease in Belgium was less significant compared to the decrease in Europe. And that is because we have as well a quite stable investment ecosystem in Belgium. And then the investors were questioned about their vision, their outlook on deal flow and valuations. And what we saw is that most of them said for 2023, the deal flow, the number, it was still a bit down. So there was less opportunities for them to invest in, and their outlook for the coming year, so to 24, would be rather stable. They don't see a huge increase. Well, they don't expect to see a huge increase. And if we look at the valuations, there we had most of the opinions. Majority said that valuations went down in 23, and the expectations for the year coming, for 24 was this year then, is to get it more stable. It will be more stable. So not going down anymore, stabilizing. So that is really already confirming in the first results that we can see from the market. Then let's have a little bit of a look about the investment landscape in Belgium. What does it look like? Well, first of all, Belgium, part of EU. As all EU citizens, you can apply for EU funding also being installed in Belgium. EU has several funding programs. We already spoken about that, I think. You can apply for them. depending a bit on the nature of your business and on your project. EU provides funding for a range of projects, so it's via programs or via the different markets. There are strict rules, so you really need to check if you're really eligible before putting your candidature, because it's very strict. Yeah, it comes in different forms. You probably already know. There are the grants, the subsidies, the loans, the guarantees, and prizes as well for projects such as the Horizon Europe contests. So that's a bit about the European investment. The European Investment Fund is called EIF. I put a link as well to the website. You can have a look there. It is the largest InvestEU implementing partner, helps access to finance for European smaller companies and mid-caps. Yeah, it's for SMEs. What else to say about that? Maybe so the EIF is a financial institution for the provision of finance to the SMEs. It does not necessarily lend money directly, but it really rather provides it through the private banks and the funds and the programs as mentioned. Okay, so that is on the EU level, but as well accessible from Belgium. Then if we dive into Belgium, which is a bit more complex as to our federal and regional states. So at the federal level, we have a fund which we call SFPIM, which is the Sovereign Wealth Fund. Yeah, it invests in a wide range of companies and sectors on which it already historically focused. So that was life science, finance, aviation, but as well in new forward-looking sectors like impact investing, smart mobility, transport, utilities, energy, and so on. Yeah, I don't know if you already know a bit about SFPM, but it intends on being a reliable partner for Belgian companies, SMEs, and scale-ups to help them grow into a reference in their sector by providing smart capital solutions. They also play an important role in the long-term stability of the Belgian economy by contributing to anchoring of strategic assets through smart capital solutions in promising as well as in established companies or ecosystems. You have access to business one-stop shops that can provide you advice or refer you to the most suitable partners to finance your project. So this can help in this landscape, which is a bit scattered due to the federal and the regional levels. If we then go zooming on these regional levels, we already mentioned them. We have the Flanders region, we have Brussels and Walloon region. So they offer various support measures. They're not the same from region to region. So it depends really on where you are located. And then, so it's the location, and then it depends on which industry your project is active in. Yeah, how do you do? Who do you contact? Well, we already had partners that presented today, so that's really good. So we have already the contacts. We have for Flanders, we have FIT. For Wallonia, we have AWEX. For Brussels, there is Hub Brussels. And we have also the agencies for support in Flanders, Vlaio, and in Wallonia. Who can help you to guide you through this landscape and tell you what rights you can have on the subsidies in the region. Yeah, I put some links in it, which you can check, but don't hesitate as well to contact directly the agencies who can really help you. So that's more on the grants, the loans, and subsidies that you can get from the regions. We also have public investment funds, and these as well, they operate per region. So in Flanders, there is PMV and LRM, which is only for the province of Limburg, and the rest for the rest of Flanders, PMV. For Brussels, there is a Finance and Invest Brussels. And in Wallonia, we have 9 of them, 9 in public investment funds. I listed them here, but of course, they're controlled by the agency, by we. So you can contact through we one of these based on where your company is located and what expertise you have. So small overview, but not so easy, of course, in a company such as Belgium, which is small but regionalized, and so we have quite some different structures. Besides the public investment, of course, you also need private investment, and the pictures of the Netherlands about these were very helpful, I think. It's a bit the same as always in the startup ecosystems. So we have after the friends, family, and fools, the business angels. And in Belgium, we have several business angel organizations. There are two that are partly publicly funded. So there are B Angels and Van Flanders, which you can contact their websites. We have Investi, the Harbor, and also a lot of individual business angels. There are crowdfunding platforms, crowdfunding, crowdlending. Also, quite a list you can find. Bibans, Econova, Lita, Spreads, Look and Fin, all depending a bit on the sector that your company is active in. And if you want to know which are the existing ones and so on, you have several platforms. There is, for example, the EuroEquity platform, as I mentioned. You can go there and check which are the different VC investors per category. Yeah, and then you can check if this could be of interest for your company to get in touch with them. Then, of course, that's the crowdlending, that's the business angels. And then when you're growing, you will need more funds probably. And then we come to the venture capital. Venture capital, we can say, we refer to equity investments, which are more made for the launch or the early development of a business. And there we have quite some funds in Belgium as well, which again, you can find on different platforms such as EuroEquity, but as well, Flyo has a venture capital database, so you can consult them. There are Fortino, Volta, Smartfin, and here it's the same a bit as in Holland. It depends really on the sector, the phase of your project, the maturity. And again, here as well, we're talking about venture capital. So quite important to be profitable. The profit is important here. To get venture capital, you need to have a business which has really proven innovation, which has ambition to grow. Of course, you're coming already from international, so that ambition is already there. But scaling rapidly often is one of the criteria that are important, besides, of course, the team. When growing further, then we come to the private equity funding. So private equity, we talk about enterprises that not yet quoted on a stock market. That's for sure, so not that late, but private equity can be used to develop new product technologies, to expand your working capital, to make acquisitions, to strengthen a company's balance sheet. So it's really what's coming after the venture capital typically. One of the funds renowned for that in Belgium is GIMF, and not only in Belgium, because it's a European fund. Probably, or maybe some of you already know, they currently manage a portfolio of around already 60 companies with a combined turnover of around 4 billion and more than 20,000 employees. So quite big, because already 40 years existing. They have been investing in innovation and entrepreneurship. GIMF is fully committed to sustainable value creation, through successful joining of forces of entrepreneurial, ambitious, and talented management teams. So that's a bit the value of the company. So once again, you can find different investors on the EuroEquity platform or on other platforms. There is as well the BVA website you can check. That is I repeat it, the Belgian Venture Capital Private Equity, representing venture capital and private equity communities in Belgium. And on their website, they list all the members, so you can have a look there as well. And then, of course, as mentioned, you have the regional agencies, Flyo, Brussels, We, and FIT and AUX, who can help you as well in this landscape. So maybe for closing, a little look on the Belgian attractiveness to invest, which emerged from the 24th edition of the Belgian Attractiveness Survey, which was conducted by EY. In a context of overall decline, as we mentioned, in foreign direct investment in Europe, Belgium managed to attract a total of 215 investments in 23. Okay, that was down, but nevertheless, our country moves up from the 9th to the 8th place in the European rankings, where there are declines almost everywhere. So more stable in Belgium. However, the drop in investments hides a notable drop in related employment, which fell 39%. And that, again, and same as in Netherlands. So we need people to come work here because we are not enough. So we need foreign people to come and help our companies, our innovation to realize. So that was my message to wrap up. If you have questions, don't hesitate to send them over, and then I would be glad to answer them. Thank you, Mathilde.
Thank you so much, Anne, for sharing your expertise on the investment landscape in Belgium.
You're welcome.
So after those 3 incredible talks, we're sure that you're all convinced that you want to develop your business in Belgium. And if that was not enough, I'm sure that chocolate, beers, and waffles will do the rest of the work. So we're now going to have a short 10 minutes break. Please be sure to stay on the call and be back at 4 p.m. because we will continue with our section on Luxembourg, and we have other amazing speakers to come. And if you also want to register to our other market discovery workshops, you can see here on the slides the next one and the registration link. So see you at 4 p.m. everyone.
Hello everyone. Thank you for coming back after a short break. So now we are coming to the 3rd country of Benelux area, Luxembourg. Luxembourg has a dynamic startup ecosystem, strong support infrastructure, and favorable business environment. And it's also famous with highly international network. And me as Ukrainian who is here 3rd year, I can tell you this, that you don't feel a foreigner in Luxembourg, again, due to international network. And today for Luxembourg section, we will have 4 amazing speakers who will share with you like startup ecosystem and investment ecosystem landscape. And also we will have testimonials, why to come from a real entrepreneur, sharing with you why to come to Luxembourg and what you can find out here, what kind of support and probably also challenges. And now I would like to introduce you our first speaker, Sidonie Paris from Chamber of Commerce of Luxembourg. Sidonie.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Hello from the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg. I'm thrilled to be here today. Let me share my presentation and then we can start right away.
Thank you.
Do you see my screen?
No.
You don't? Let me try again.
Or if you like, I can share your presentation and just like do it for you.
Do you see
mind.
anything on my screen?
No, nothing.
Let me try again this one.
Yes.
Yes, good. Good. So my name is Sidonie Paris, and I am part of the Economic Affairs Department of the Chamber of Commerce of Luxembourg. And today I would like to give you a first overview of the Chamber of Commerce, who we are and what we do to support businesses, and also to give you a first insight of market opportunities, and also talk about the research and innovative initiatives that are deployed in Luxembourg. So about the Chamber of Commerce, we are a very old institution. We were created in 1841, and we are the only Chamber of Commerce of the country. And we play a pivotal role in the economic life of Luxembourg. Luxembourg being a small country, we have easy and direct access to decision makers, which makes it very handy to actually defend the interests of our 100,000 members. So at the Chamber of Commerce, we bring together big companies, SMEs, from the industry sector, commerce, banking and finance, also insurance services, and the hotel and catering industry. And we represent 75% of the total salaried employment and also 80% of GDP. So this gives us an additional voice when it comes to defending, of course, the interests of our members of the companies. Apart from defending the interests of businesses, we also offer a range of services to support the creation and development of companies and startups via notably our House of Entrepreneurship. This is a single point of contact for project initiators and established business. So no matter how far you are in your entrepreneurship adventure, we are here to help you step by step, either creating your company or developing it, or also if you want to hand it over, we are also present all the steps of the way. So we offer personalized advice, free workshops on various topics, also access to financing and state aid, networking sessions, of course, meetings with experts. So usually people come to us, so this service is free of charge, and explain where they stand in their process, and then our experts from the House of Entrepreneurship will guide them step by step through the entire process. So what is more, we also connect through our House of Entrepreneurship entrepreneurs to the local network of institutions and stakeholders. This is usually key when, especially you come from abroad, you may not know the ecosystem in Luxembourg. So we have here spaces used to, we organize B2Bs, we organize evenings and talks, discussions where you can actually meet the different key actors to develop your business here in Luxembourg. So apart from the House of Entrepreneurship, we also have a House of Startup. My colleague will talk more substantially about it a bit later. But just to say that it is an important incubator center that contributes highly to the development of the startup ecosystem in Luxembourg. And this House of Startups is located near the train station in Luxembourg City, and it hosts a number of incubators. For example, the Luxembourg City Incubator, which is an initiative of the Chamber of Commerce and the City of Luxembourg. And its mission is to help startups set up and develop their business in Luxembourg, but also in neighboring countries. In Luxembourg, like was said earlier, for Belgium and the Netherlands, the country is small. So very rapidly, companies usually wish to develop beyond the national borders of Luxembourg. So it is important to get the support you need to not only set up here in Luxembourg, but also to be able to expand beyond the borders, to expand to the EU and reach out to the EU market. So apart from the House of Entrepreneurship, the House of Startup, we also have at the Chamber of Commerce a dedicated department that works on international affairs. And this department supports companies in developing their business abroad through tailor-made guidance to target new markets and networking opportunities. The colleagues there also develop economic missions abroad. So this enables companies already in Luxembourg to meet companies, for example, in Japan or in Dubai or in Abu Dhabi or in India. And also these companies in these foreign countries to learn about Luxembourg and develop contacts with the Luxembourg-based companies. So also the International Affairs Department of the Chamber of Commerce works together in close relationship with the Ministry of the Economy to provide the opportunity for companies to take part in international trade fairs. This may actually not be something easy for startups, for SMEs. So the Ministry of the Economy, together with the Chamber of Commerce, organize delegations to participate in these international trade fairs, and thus helps company meet new business partners. And also, so the colleagues organize foreign business delegations visits to Luxembourg. This means that at the Chamber of Commerce here, we welcome foreign delegations. These delegations come to us, and we also invite companies, startups already based in Luxembourg. And so we create contacts through roundtables, B2B meetings, networking events, for example. So this is for the first part, to give you a very broad overview of what we do at the Chamber of Commerce. Please do not hesitate if you would like further information to contact our colleagues at the House of Entrepreneurship, at the House of Startups. They will be able to give you more detailed information on according to your needs. So now moving on to the second part of the presentation, why choose Luxembourg, right? Why come here? You may not want to come here for the weather, but there are other opportunities that you may use here. Luxembourg is well known for being very international. It was mentioned earlier. Here, almost half of the people living in Luxembourg are foreigners. And we have, yes?
Could you please change slides, because we still see one slide, power and business.
Excuse me. Yes.
And please, so we are running out of the time. Could you please wrap up for minimum 2 minutes maximum?
Yes, I'll be very short. I'll focus then on the international aspect of the Luxembourgish population, and also on the fact that over half of the residents here speak 3 or more languages. So there is a high chance that you will meet someone who actually speaks your mother tongue. So this is an advantage. Of course, we are a very, very open economy. As was said earlier, we are ideally located at the heart of Europe. We have a leading freight airport here with Cargolux, with expertise in special cargo. We also have a rail motorway between Luxembourg and southern France. We also have an inland port. So it's very handy to transport goods from one part of Europe to another. And of course, this is the last point I would like to focus on. We have a very dynamic innovative sectors. Actually, innovation is in our DNA. We are used to adapting. We used to be a major steel producer. We became a world-leading financial sector. Today, we innovate in R&D intensive sectors, such as in IT infrastructures, in the clean tech industry, in biomedical research and big data, or also in the automotive industries. So there are many things happening now. And to conclude, I would also like to stress on the stability, on the political stability and the stability of the economic environment in Luxembourg, which is of particular importance in the present context that we know, and also the fact that we have sound public finances here. We have a triple A-rated economy, and this is, of course, gives certainty to companies, to investors who wish to come and develop their business and invest here in Luxembourg. I thank you for your attention. I hope I managed to not to be too long.
Thank you so much, Sidonie, and showing Luxembourg as a trusted partner.
Yes.
I would like to introduce our next speaker, Jonas Mercier, who is Startup Luxembourg coordinator, and he will share with you about startup ecosystem in Luxembourg and why you should come to Luxembourg, and also like how to navigate in our startup ecosystem. Hello, Jonas.
Hello, thank you, Ina, and hello to all of you. So I'm very happy to be here. I'm Jonas Mercier. I represent Startup Luxembourg, which is the national initiatives here in Luxembourg aiming at first promoting Luxembourg startup ecosystem abroad and in Luxembourg as well, but also being the first entry point into our ecosystem. So is the first contact with our ecosystem and help entrepreneurs to navigate, to find their way in this ecosystem. So let me share my screen. Okay, let me know if it works for you. Is it fine?
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay, cool. Let's start then. So our startup ecosystem is a booming one. So I know that you have probably heard this word for many different ecosystems in Europe, but it is also the case in Luxembourg. Really, we are seeing new initiatives, new players joining, new entrepreneurs, new startup growing from Luxembourg. Every month, this is really moving. We have events almost every week in the year. So it's a very dynamic ecosystem. And if you would ask me what would be the unique value proposition of this ecosystem, I would say, and as Sidonie mentioned, this is the way we can connect people easily and very quickly. So we really believe that startup needs funding. They need clients, but we think that they need not waste their time finding the right player to speak with, to work with, to collaborate with. And that's where we are good at here in Luxembourg, making the right connection easily, quickly with key decision makers, whether it is on the public side or the private side. So let me go to the next slide. Yes. So our ecosystem is made up of more or less 500 plus 550 startups. This is a slide to understand which are the main sectors where we have startups. You can see that the fintech and the ICT/digital application are the two main sectors of this ecosystem. Definitively, this is where we have the most startups. It's mainly B2B focus, let's say, startup in this ecosystem. Apart from fintech and digital ICT application, we have other sectors that are quite dynamic, even if they are maybe smaller. The health tech, for instance, is booming. We have a huge focus from the Ministry of the Economy on this sector, so it's growing fast, such as the cybersecurity and the space one, which are other key sectors for the ministry and for the government that are being developed actively here in Luxembourg. Indutech, cleantech, mobility are as well very important sectors for us, where you have more startups than the logo you can see. Of course, this is just an overview, but we have interesting projects that are being developed from Luxembourg. So whether it is local companies created here in Luxembourg or companies coming from abroad, sometimes from the US or Asia, and choosing Luxembourg for their European HQ. So mobility, big data as well, logistics are sectors where we have interesting projects. This is an overview, but of the players that are active in our ecosystem. So we will start with the international supports. The institutional startup support. So House of Entrepreneurship, Sidonie developed already on this initiative, which is the first, I would say, player you will be in touch with when you access our ecosystems. Once you have a company based in Luxembourg, once you have incorporated your company, Lux Innovation, which is the National Innovation Agency, will be the institution you have to speak with, because they will help you understand what are the different funding opportunities, public funding available here in Luxembourg, and they will help you access this funding. So this is a very important player. And House of Startups, which is this incubator of incubators, so a very important place in our ecosystem. You will find in the different incubators that are based in this House of Startups more than 200 startups. So it's really the heart of our ecosystem. In terms of incubators, accelerators, and innovation hubs, here we have quite a few interesting initiatives, whether it is focused on specific industries. I would mention, for instance, the Paul Wurting Cube, focusing on industrial technology, the NeoBuild on construction side, or the Loft, Luxembourg House of Financial Technology, focusing on finance, of course, and fintech. And incubators such as we mentioned it already, Luxembourg City incubators or Technoports or Tomorrow Street, that are more sector agnostics. So quite interesting and well-balanced offer on that side. Corporate programs and services targeted at supporting startups, so private services that are complementary to what offer incubators and accelerators, so important players as well. Startup programs, acceleration programs, Fit for Start I will go through later on my slides, but we have acceleration program focusing on the space industry, on the finance industry, on expanding your business in the US, or focusing on the woman projects. And as I told you, it's very important for us to connect people and to ease this building network of each of our entrepreneurs and players. So we have a lot of different initiative, events, associations that are proposing during all year long some bigger or smaller events. In terms of bigger events, we have the Nexus and Luxembourg Venture Day, which are the two main events of our ecosystem, gathering thousands of people. So Nexus was last week, so it's during the spring, and the Luxembourg Venture Days is in autumn. So it's two very important moments for us and our ecosystem, and good moments for you to come to Luxembourg and to meet our ecosystem and to feel the startup ecosystem. This is a slide, and it will be another one on the funding opportunities we offer here in Luxembourg. So I told you about the Fit for Start acceleration program. This is a very interesting tool for us and for you, hopefully, because it is a national acceleration program that will come with coaches and experts, international coaches with huge expertise in their own domain that will help you focus on your needs, so the needs of each startup selected for this program, on building your product, maybe thinking your internationalization strategy, and so on and so forth. So helping your company to grow from Luxembourg and outside Luxembourg. But it comes with public funding. It's up to 150K, so it's equity-free funding, and a lot of visibility, because we will have access. We will not only have access to a free access to co-working spaces, but also you will have the opportunity to meet a lot of players, to be visible in the front of our investors community and corporates. So it's a very important acceleration program for us, and a very good first step for you if you're interested in being located in Luxembourg. We have as well 2 VC funds where the Ministry of the Economy invested in. So it's a public-private initiative, let's say. So these are managed by VC capital venture firms. The Promus Ventures is the first one, Orbital Ventures, so managed by Promus Ventures. And this one will invest in European space-related startups. And the Digital Tech Fund, which is managed by Expon Capital, will invest in, it's sector agnostic, I will say, but will invest only in Luxembourg-based companies. So it's a very interesting tool for companies here, because this is a VC that will focus only on the local market. So there is a huge chances that you get funding by them. And the Young Innovative Enterprise, which is support from the Ministry of the Economy, that will, the philosophy is that, okay, you have your product and you want to go international. If you manage to convince a VC to fund your project, we will follow you with up to 800K euros. But this money will have to be spent in the expansions related expenses, meaning marketing, meaning business development, meaning sales. So this will be the expenses that can be eligible for this funding. The second slides, where you can see our R&D, research and development and innovation funding schemes. So it's reimbursement financing tools up to 5% of the amount of your project available for all the companies based in Luxembourg, inclusive startups. For instance, let's say that you have a product, you come to Luxembourg, you want maybe to adapt it to the local market or to the European market because it's slightly different than what you have developed. And so you need to develop it, or you need to add a feature on it. It could be seen as a R&D project. And you will see, okay, I need 2 developers working on this for 2 years, for 1 year, for 6 months, I don't know. It's just an example. And the ministry will say, okay, we can help you with reimbursing the expenses of these 2 developers. Same, you will have to see Lux Innovation to have a meeting with them. They will explain you more in details how it works. SNCI is a public law banking institution. So mainly they will help you access private loans from private bank. So it's a guarantee for your project. And the Luxembourg Future Fund, still it's another VC fund we have here in Luxembourg. It's a joint venture between the SNCI, so this public law banking institutions, and the European Investment Fund, which is based in Luxembourg. So the second fund, Luxembourg Future Fund, is 200 million euros, so it's bigger, it's big fund. And they will invest in VCs or scale-ups, so big companies with big traction already. And they will have not to be based necessarily in Luxembourg, but they have to have a link and to have Luxembourg somehow in their radar and in their strategy for their internationalization in Europe. I see you, Ina. I will hurry up. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So all that what I said is on our startup directory. It's accessible from startupluxembourg.com website. So it's a list of all the players I mentioned, but also all the startup and scale up. So it's a very interesting tool. I invite you, really invite you to go into this this platform. It's free. You have to create your account. It's very easy to do, and you have all the different information I mentioned before. And maybe this last slide, this is to mention that last year the Ministry of the Economy published an official document, which is the national roadmap for our ecosystem. And this is a way to remind to all of our players and entrepreneurs that the Ministry of the Economy, as well as the whole government, is very committed in continuing working on developing this ecosystem. This is an important and very important key strategic topic for us. So we know, and we will continue working on early stage startup support, but also the scale-ups for the scale-ups activities, connecting our startup ecosystem in the heart of the European Union are also very important topics for us. So there is this commitment for public entities that is huge here in Luxembourg. Thank you very much. A lot of information. I hope it was useful. And as I told you, go on startupluxembourg.com if you want to have this information, and do not hesitate to contact me from the website. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonas, for sharing. Yes, and I can tell you, please, if you would like to find out more about Startup Luxembourg and startup ecosystem, please subscribe to the newsletter. It's even for me interesting to receive your monthly newsletters. And again, we will share presentations and links with all of you who are registered to our workshop. So after you can double check this information and go deeper depending on the countries that you selected. And I would like to introduce our next speaker. So you heard already about Luxembourg as a country at all. After you heard about Startup Luxembourg, like ecosystem, on which door to knock in order if you need support. And now we're gonna answer to your questions like if you can find investments and where. And I would like to introduce you Luis Galvez from LPA. LPA is Luxembourg Private Equity and Venture Funds Association. Louis, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. A pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation, Hina. Thank you, Jonas, for having spoiled some parts of my presentation, but okay. It's good, and it's future fund and the Luxembourg Digital Fund are important parts of the ecosystem. I was going to mention them, but thank you, Jonas. That saves me time to speak of other things.
Yeah, and go in details because you know more, like, and you have to share lots of information. It's like you have 10 minutes.
Yes,
for
well,
this.
I try to collect just a few slides, not to bother you a lot with slides. So as Ina mentioned, I'm with the Luxembourg Private Equity and Venture Capital Association, which is an association for the investors. So in this case, for Luxembourg is a private equity hub, large investments, infrastructure investments, but it's also a place for venture capital. And there will be some piece of data about that later on the different VCs that you can find here. But so that you understand, so within our membership, we have some investors that invest directly in startups such as family offices, for instance. Some have that kind of strategy. And we have also venture capital funds that either are based in Luxembourg and invest across Europe and all over the globe, or they are based here with teams on the ground here, and they invest in Luxembourg and in other countries too. You will not find a VC operating exclusively in Luxembourg because it's a small natural market of startups, a growing one and an interesting one, but still VCs usually are specialized into certain sectors, so they require larger markets, and so it's very natural. Luxembourg, like many other things, is naturally exposed to the European market, not so much for the local market or even the regional market. So as an association for VCs, we bring together those players, we try to understand their needs, and our goal is to create the conditions so that they can operate and have efficient funds and make sure that they help them to fundraise, if possible, as well to their funds. Because that's the first point I want to highlight a bit. It's a time of the market right now. The slide that we have in front of us is the one from Invest Europe, and it's about the investment pace that has been going on. So here you have the figures from 2023, which was a very sluggish year for venture capital, with many VCs struggling to fundraise. And then if these VCs as managers of funds that they are unable to fundraise capital into their funds, they will also have difficulties in deploying. Although they are probably operating funds that have been closed a few years ago, and so they have some money to spend. The truth is that many of them also were questioning the valuations and therefore limiting themselves from going into the market and investing. So this is more like a recommendation, not so much a Benelux recommendation, but a VC recommendation of making sure that if you are looking for investors to have a fair valuation of your business, so that you can get in the scope of what VCs are looking for. You can see the numbers still all across Europe. 4,700 companies have been funded through venture funds in 2023. So I'm curious to see what's the evolution, but also on the investment amount, it has reduced, but still it's the 12.9 billion euros of investment that were done in VC are even above the level of investments that were being done in 2020, 2019, 2018. So it's not that bad. It's not as exciting and overvalued as it was perhaps in the 2021 and 2022. But okay, getting back to Luxembourg and the and how the market plays. We have here a map that I will try to explain. So we have different types of players here. Some of these names and logos you have already seen. In the center of this chart, we have the funds that have an active management in Luxembourg. So these are funds of different size, different level of maturity, different sectors of investment that have teams on the ground. So these are the people that you can meet by coming to events here, people that you can come across in coaching events, people that sit at the Fit for Start jury. So, you know, the profiles that can talk to you and to whom you can have a conversation about your business proposal. So, but we don't have only that. So there are other type of investors. So in the yellow part of this chart, you will see other type of investors like family offices. You can see some family offices investing in startups, although there's not that much information about this. We know there's somewhere between 100, 200 family offices in Luxembourg, some of them investing into funds, many others acquiring companies in full, and others investing in startups. It's a very delicate market that you need to approach one by one. So it's not an easy market, but it's an important one. You also have the accelerators, sometimes giving you more support and money. Business angels also play an important role, and I'm sure if you didn't have one session about business angels, you probably will have one. And some corporate ventures too. So Luxembourg has been exploring different sources of investors into the startup world, and corporate ventures, family offices, and private investors, and some public funds have been playing a critical role. On the green side, you see other VCs, which are not particularly based in Luxembourg, but that have been investing in companies that are based in Luxembourg. So that also shows that the companies here, they attract attention and interest from everywhere. Being in Luxembourg, I think it's an advantage in terms of branding. So that's important when you see the map of investments. You know, there's a lot more investment in Western Europe than in Eastern Europe, for instance. So perhaps it's more interesting to be in Western Europe to have more attention from investors. On the left side, well, on the top in reddish pink, you will see some investors into venture capital funds. This is a particular category, but it's an important one because the funds also need to fundraise. And on the left side, you see the many funds that are domiciled in Luxembourg. Let's not forget that Luxembourg has a strong financial center, and part of that is also due to the fact that many private equity and venture capital funds are domiciled here. They have, you know, management operations here, administration operations here, but they don't necessarily have the investment teams on the ground. So it's important for you to understand a bit the context of Luxembourg. You should definitely focus on the ones that have teams on the ground. Concluding, I can only invite you to visit this guide that we produced with Silicon Luxembourg, which is a magazine that I recommend you to follow online, because they cover everything about the startup market and investments that take place. So we try to, in this publication, we profiled the different VCs that operate in Luxembourg, and so you can understand how much they invest, which sectors they invest, which stage of development they invest. There's also a contact person. So, you know, the idea is that you should not approach blindly 20 different VCs. So you should select the VCs that really are interested in the type of business you are into. So that's an advice that applies to Luxembourg as to anywhere else. I think I took my time, Ina.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's fine.
Yeah, perfect timing.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Luis, to share not about Luxembourg, but in Europe and beyond about the trends. So yeah, startups would understand like the situation what we have. And again, we will share the link to VC Guide in our follow-up letter with startups so that they can explore more about what you prepared together with Silicon Magazine.
Yeah, I was checking the Q&A. I see the question is not for me. It's about the Fit for Start program. Perhaps if Jonas is still there, he can answer. If there's no questions for me, I'm happy to go.
Thank you for joining. Yeah, and please switch off your camera and continue listening to us because we have another interesting testimonials from Matthias Manpa. Matthias, are you with us?
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to see you all.
Thank you for joining. And yes, so we are coming to the most interesting and practical part, testimonials from co-founder. And I would like to share that inspiration for having Matthias to share this story arose from a real life situation during our flight to Web Summit last year. With Matthias, and remember when you shared with your journey why you chose Luxembourg. So now, like, we're excited to share this amazing journey from Finland to Luxembourg with a broader audience. And so could you please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about VideoBot?
Happy to. So I'm Matthias. I'm 37 years old now. I've been living in Luxembourg for 5 years. We moved here 2019, just before the COVID. We had a small baby back in those days. Now she's almost 6. And funnily speaking, in addition to Finnish, also Luxembourgish and French now. I've been an entrepreneur since 2010. So almost 15 years already. We had a B2B SaaS company in Finland, which we sold in 2017. Then I started to do some angel investing, and why I moved to Luxembourg is not maybe the most natural story, because me or my wife, we didn't have a job or something which we applied and then moved abroad. But I had, since I was 15, kind of a dream to live abroad as well, because I've been always interested in different kind of cultures. We wanted to stay in Europe, and then we pretty much like created a bullet point list that what is important for our family to decide where we would locate, and then we chose Luxembourg.
Could you please share bullet points, like criteria that you used?
Yeah, I would say
which
that
countries were in the list?
If we would be in a bar right now and I would have taken 3 beers, I would say that I wanted to find a country where my ice hockey level is good enough, because that is also true. I finally found that country. But we had different kind of bullet points. One was that we speak English in addition to our native language. So we wanted to be in a place where English is possible in the business side. One important thing was that it's family friendly. The third one was that it has to be a dynamic place. So I mean dynamic place by business. So we didn't want to go to Marbella or somewhere where you go and retire mostly, but having a business dynamic environment, and also very multicultural. And somebody already said that half of the people in the country are from abroad, but it's, to be honest, it's way more, especially if you live in the city. So I would say it's quite rare to meet the Luxembourgish person here. So I would say 70–80% who are living in the city are Luxembourgers, but in addition to that, there's more than 200,000 people coming from Belgium, France, or Germany every day. So I would say that in the business environment, 90% are probably from abroad, which makes it very unique and interesting, at least from my point of view. And it's so much like running a business is still, even though everything is digital and VideoBot is digital customer journey tool. It's so much about network still. And if you want to have European level networks, I think the Luxembourg is maybe the best place anywhere, because you start to meet and get to know people from all the countries. So from Belgium, I didn't know anyone in the business area. Now I know maybe 40 or 50 people, or France or Germany or UK, you name it. So when you network and connect people in Luxembourg, you actually connect, to be honest, in whole Europe. That's one very, very important point. Then, as doing angel investments, one bullet point was that the taxation can't be so horrible than it is in the Nordics. So Luxembourg is good in that sense. So if you're an entrepreneur and if you own less than 10% of the company for at least 6 months, you don't pay taxes on capital gain when you sell, or if you own more than 10%, you do it through your holding company, and if you do an exit, you don't pay taxes. Of course, on salary and stuff, you pay taxation, but it's very competitive. And then one more bullet point, which I remember, was the central location. So it's rather cool, especially coming from Finland, where you have to fly everywhere if you want to go somewhere. Here, it's like 2 or 3 hours with the car, you are in Strasbourg or the Champagne area, or with the train in 2 hours in Paris, or 3 hours, the whole Belgium. You have Frankfurt, you have Köln, you have the Netherlands. So this is, I have still not used to it that in 5 years that everything is so close. Like the Western Europe, half of it you can cover with car rather easily, actually. So there were some bullet points.
Wow, thank you for promotion. Luxembourg is like amazing, but I can confirm everything is true, what I see here. But can you also share if you had any remarkable cultural differences or surprises in Luxembourg?
That's a bit of a hard one, because the culture is not Luxembourgish, but it's a mix of so many cultures. So of course, Finland is like a small tribe, so it's a bit wrong even to compare to that one. So if in Finland you shake hands, everything is like, yeah, that's how it is. But in a way, Luxembourg is a bit the same, because even though the ecosystem is dynamic, it's also growing, but it's not like super, super big. So if you come here, I would say that be trustable, do what you promise, because here the reputation of yours is very, very important, because if you provide shit, everybody knows it in 1 year. But if you provide quality, vice versa, people really want to help you out and speak good things about you, and then things happen actually faster than normally would happen. So you can have an access in this ecosystem to so many people super fastly. Somebody mentioned House of Startups. I'm here in House of Startups right now, and this incubator LCI has helped us so much on concrete stuff, not only like creating workshops or something, but mostly what the benefit has been that they intro us to our ICP clients who are enterprises and really concretely help us to get more business.
Thank you so much, Matthias. And I would like to share with everyone again, Matthias is not only a co-founder, but also business angel and also ex-coach in our acceleration program. By the way, one of the most favorite one for me, but unfortunately you decided to focus on your company, and I encourage everyone also to check it out, Solution of Video Bot. It's really amazing, and connect with Matthias on LinkedIn, because you you also share how to grow your company and as a founder journey. So yeah, I highly recommend. So thank you so much for sharing and being open today.
Thank you, Ina. And yeah, feel free to be in touch if there's anything. You can find me from LinkedIn, and if I can help you, happy to help you out. Have a nice afternoon.
Thank you so much. And now, we are finishing our Luxembourg section, but we have amazing and very important section for startups. It's a regulatory environment in Benelux area. And so today we will tackle like tax regulation in 3 countries and not only. And I would like to introduce Anna Kalinichenko, senior lawyer from DLA paper. Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Inna. Let me share my screen. Okay. Can you see it? Hopefully, yes.
Yes.
So,
yeah, all good, Anna.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for confirming. Thank you very much for joining us today. As Ina said, my name is Anna Kalinichenko. I'm a representative of DLA Piper. DLA Piper is a global law firm which has offices across the globe in more than 40 countries. So we have 90 plus offices with more than 1,000 lawyers ranked as leaders in their field. And today our tax experts will be talking about tax aspects and tax incentives for the startups in the jurisdictions. Let me introduce our speakers for today. It will be Victor Rosias, a tax lawyer from Belgium, Roland Clement, lead tax lawyer from the Netherlands, and Cyril Peels, lead tax lawyer from Luxembourg. I will stop here for the sake of time. You can visit our website to get more information on DLA Piper and services that we offer. And if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A function. We will do our best to address them at the end of the session. So, Victor, the floor is yours.
Yes, hi everybody. So my name is Victor Rosias. I am a tax lawyer at DLA Piper Belgium, and very happy to contribute to this amazing project. So I will elaborate a bit on the most important aspects of the Belgian tax regime for startups and for investors. So let's first start with at the level of the startup. So in principle, startups will be subject to the ordinary corporate income tax of 25%, like all other Belgian companies. However, a reduced corporate income tax rate of 20% exists for small and medium enterprises. So this will only apply to the first tranche of 100,000 euros. And from the 4th year after incorporation, you will have to pay out a minimum of 45,000 management fees a year. This is some sort of anti-tax abuse clause. When you're a foreign resident startup, so for example, a Ukrainian startup, you will only be taxed in Belgium on the income generated through a physical or a personal Belgian permanent establishment. A physical permanent establishment exists if you have some sort of fixed physical presence in Belgium. So for example, an office. A personal permanent establishment exists when you have an employee in Belgium with the authority to conclude contracts for the foreign startup, and that employee habitually exercises this authority. Or second possibility, if the employee plays the principal role leading to the conclusion of contracts that are routinely concluded without a material modification by the foreign employer. So this is the ordinary corporate income tax regime, which is also applicable to startups. So if you're established in Belgium, or if you have a permanent establishment in Belgium, you will have to pay 25% corporate income tax on all your worldwide income, or respectively on the income generated through the permanent establishment. So however, you can apply the 20% on the first tranche of 100,000 euros if you qualify as a small or medium enterprise. Then on the other side, if you have no permanent establishment in Belgium, you will in principle not be taxed in Belgium on your profits. So nevertheless, many tax incentives exist for startups in Belgium. So startups will not have to pay obligatory prepayments of corporate income tax. So you will not have to pre-finance the corporate income tax in the first 3 years. Then a second interesting tax incentive is the investment income deduction, which actually works as, so if you expense investments in Belgium on top of the ordinary deductibility of the costs, small and medium enterprises will be able to deduct another 10% of the investment costs, and even 20% if the investments relate to digital investments. Then there exists a 40% deductibility on top of the cost if the investments are made in efficient energy consumption and renewable energy, or in carbon-free transport, or in environmentally friendly investments. So that's a very nice incentive as well. You are eligible to claim a 13.5% deductibility for environmentally friendly investments made in R&D or investments made in patents. Then another important tax incentive in Belgium is the innovation income deduction. And again, it is an extra deduction in case you generate income from certain IP, such as license fees or royalties, and you will be able to deduct an amount of 85% of the net income, but a correction is made if the income does not result from expenses made in Belgium. Then lastly, there are 2 exemptions for professional withholding tax in Belgium. So economically, this works like some sort of subsidy for the startup. So startup will withhold withholding tax on the salary paid out to the employees, but the employer can partially keep the withholding tax. So for startups in the first 48 months, they may keep 10% of the professional withholding tax, which has to be withheld on all the salaries of their employees. And even if you qualify as a micro company, that means that you will have less than 10 employees. In that case, you will be able to deduct 20%. So let's now move to the level of the shareholders on the next slide. There's a very attractive tax regime for individual investors in Belgium. In principle, there is no taxation of capital gains on shares in Belgium, which is a great competitive advantage compared to many other European Union member states. And in general, you will have to pay 30% withholding tax on dividends, but this can be reduced to 15% if the startup qualifies as a small or medium enterprise, which will be the case. And if a waiting period to distribute the profits is respected for 4 years. Then capital losses are, however, not deductible. This is the other side of the medal, of course. And another range of specific tax reductions exists in Belgium. So investments in startups, if an individual makes investments in startups, he will be able to claim a tax reduction of 30% if that startup qualifies as a small or medium enterprise, so meaning less than 50 employees, or a tax reduction of 45% in case the startup qualifies as a micro company. That will be in the case that the startup only employs less than 10 people. So for investments made in scale-ups, a scale-up is defined as a company incorporated between 4 and 10 years ago, with a minimum of 10 employees and with an annual growth of minimum 10%. Well, in that case, investments in scale-ups are resulting in a tax reduction of 25% for an individual investor in Belgium. Then, lastly, individual investors can also benefit from a tax reduction on so-called win-win loans, which is a tax reduction between 2.5% and 4% yearly on the outstanding capital if you provide a subordinated loan to a startup. So that can be a very interesting regime as well. If we then move to the regime for investment funds, if the startup is subject to the normal corporate income tax, whether in Belgium or in Ukraine, there will be no capital gains or withholding tax on dividends, both the dividends received and paid out, if the fund qualifies as an investment company. So this is a quasi-transparent approach for tax purposes. In Belgium, funds are often structured as a private privac or pricaf privé, and such a pricaf privé is only taxed on disallowed expenses and abnormal benefits. So de facto, the pricaf privé will not have to pay any corporate income tax. There is also no capital gains taxation, nor a withholding tax on dividends received and paid out by the pricaf privé. And in any case, there is no withholding tax due on dividends paid to individuals by the pricaf privé if these dividends stem from capital gains on shares from the portfolio company. So lastly, there is a tax reduction of 25% for individuals in case they incur losses on investments made in a pricaf privé. And so if we then conclude, in general, individual investors will not have to pay any capital gains tax. They will have to pay 30%, or in some cases, 15% withholding tax on dividends. And funds will have not to pay any capital gains taxation. They will not have to withhold any withholding tax on dividends, nor withholding tax on dividends paid out to individuals if they stem from capital gains on the shares of the startup. So we have a quasi-transparent approach in Belgium. Maybe lastly, another interesting element is that we have a quite attractive stock option regime in Belgium, which allows for an upfront taxation upon the grant of the stock options. So when the value of the shares is still low. So especially for startups, this is a very beneficial regime. Plus, the options will be valued on the basis of a lump sum valuation. In some cases, only 9% of the underlying shares. So you will only have an effective tax rate of approximately 4.5% of the value of the shares upon grant. So this is quite favorable. That was it from my side. I hope this gives a decent overview of the Belgian tax regime. And I now gladly pass the floor to Roland, who will elaborate a bit about the Dutch tax regime.
Thank you very much, Victor. So we are quite going over at the time. So if you can keep your presentation short, we will be very grateful. Thank you, Roland.
Of course. Yeah, I would like to talk briefly about the Dutch tax regime. I think for startups, there are two options. You have like either a startup, a limited liability company subject to Dutch corporate income tax, or you're like a personal income tax entrepreneur if you're like still really small scale and maybe later convert to a limited liability company. I will focus on the limited liability company subject to Dutch corporate income tax. And in general, every company in the Netherlands, startups included, are subject to a corporate income tax rate on profits of ranging between 19 and 25%. The first 200K of profit is subject to the 90% rate. And the primary tax incentive for startups is the R&D tax credit, which provides a reduction for refund of wage tax and social security payments made by the employer entity. And this tax credit is widely used. It is, I think, the main criteria is you need to spend in the Netherlands 500 hours on development of a product, or do scientific research, or develop a product process. So it's really, if you're still developing the product, you can get a significant reduction of wage taxes settled against your corporate income tax. If your startup is a little bit more mature, growing, then eventually you may also qualify for the innovation box. Quite strict requirements, and one of the requirements is that you already apply the R&D tax credit. And in addition, there are criteria like you have to register a patent or a trademark. It's strict requirements. But if you qualify, you have like a 9% tax rate instead of the 25% tax rate on corporate income tax, corporate profits. In addition, we have a full amortization of cost incurred for development of intangible assets. So you can, instead of amortize over the lifetime of an asset, you can take the deduction immediately. It's only a timing benefit, but when you want to preserve cash in the startup, it can often be worthwhile to take costs upfront for tax purposes. And finally, for the more small scale entrepreneurs who did not yet incorporate like an entity, a limited liability company, we also see either individuals starting their own business, or if you started through a partnership not subject to corporate income tax, then we have various tax reductions, mainly the 13% exemption of your profit for small-time entrepreneurs, and we have a fictional reduction amounting to around 3,000 euros a year, which helps getting startups off the ground, and they can convert later to a limited liability company. I think in view of the time, I kept it very short, but if there are any questions, please send me an email or drop a message in the chat, and I will happy to have a call.
Thank you very much, Laurent. So Cyril, the floor is yours now.
Thank you, Anna. And
could you please switch on your camera if it is possible?
Yes, I'm trying.
Perfect.
There you go. Hello, everyone, and I hope you are all enjoying the session. Hopefully, having some more coffee, because we are about to carry on the trading world of tax regulation. Now diving into the Luxembourg tax landscape. Conscious of the time left, I will just simply give you a quick snapshot of the relevant tax aspect to be considered when implementing a startup or a business in Luxembourg. First, I would like to maybe stress that Luxembourg is known as a strong financial center and a dynamic ecosystem for startup and companies, as it was discussed before during this workshop. And to be very competitive and supportive of new businesses. However, there is a bit of a mix-up sometimes between like the financial support and economic flexibility Luxembourg offers on one hand, and the actual tax system on the other end, which might not always be as flexible. So it's important to note that Luxembourg applies the general corporate tax rules governing big companies to newly created entities like startups, even though they may obviously operate quite differently from the typical holding companies and corporation that we usually see. So understanding the general tax regime for companies is fairly important because the startups will likely be covered by the same rules. In Luxembourg, for instance, the corporate income tax rate is set at around 25%, but small businesses with an annual taxable income below 175K may benefit from a lower CIT rate of 15%. So the overall CIT rates include surtax and a municipal business tax, which actually vary depending on the relevant municipality of an corporation. For instance, it is set as at 7% in Luxembourg City this year, a little bit below, but you could end up with higher rates if the company is incorporated into in another municipality. Of course, the losses are deductible. In Luxembourg, if a loss occurs at the end of the tax year, may be carried forward for up to 17 years, subject to conditions. And the expenses like the formation cost can be charged to the P&L or depreciated over 5 years, providing kind of flexibility in managing the initial costs. Another key point of the Luxembourg tax system is the net wealth tax, which is in fact applicable to companies as opposed to individuals. Both Luxembourg resident company and Luxembourg branches of non-resident company are subject to net wealth tax on their net wealth as of January the 1st each year. The rate is 50 basis points on a taxable basis up to 500 million euro, but can be reduced to less than 1K or even below. But I will try to avoid going too far into the details. In addition to the CIT and the net wealth tax, the impact of indirect taxes should also be considered, because businesses subject to Luxembourg VAT would benefit from the lowest standard rate in Europe, so 17%, and you could have also lower rates that could apply. Maybe another important point to note is that there is a 15% withholding tax on capital distribution in Luxembourg, such as dividends or hidden dividend distributions. This rate is subject to domestic exemptions or double tax treaty relief if there is any international profit repatriation. And Luxembourg does not levy any withholding tax on any arm's length interest or loan principal repayment, for instance, when you have debt funding of a company in Luxembourg, to the exception when the interest is paid to an individual living in Luxembourg. Well, so this very quick overview was not aiming to be comprehensive, but I hope it gives you a sense of the main tax aspect to consider when you implement a startup in Luxembourg. I will just say maybe that it is well known in Luxembourg that along the market player that there is a strong need for Luxembourg to increase its favorable framework for startup and investor in order to align the tax treatment with the general will of Luxembourg of staying a startup friendly country. Also, maybe as explained just before by Matthias, perfectly explained, capital gains realized on any kind of shares by individual shareholders or investor are exempt in Luxembourg, provided they are not called speculative gains, meaning that they are exempt if the shareholder holds less than 10% of the share capital and has maintained the shares for more than 6 months. If the participation sold represent more than 10%, but is still held for more than 6 months, the capital gain is taxed at half the overall income tax rate. Again, sorry for going to the tax details, but maybe the outcome to remember is that this is a fairly attractive capital gains regime. Another relevant tax regime for many startups and companies in Luxembourg is the IP box regime. The first IP regime was actually established in 2007, allowing taxpayer to benefit from an exemption of 80% on income tax. But it was focused on the licensing of IP rights. Since 2019, a new approach has been adopted, which grants a favorable tax treatment on activities and corresponding expenditures. This exemption does not apply to commercial IP assets like trademarks or domain names, but it first targets patents. The goal of this change is to consolidate Luxembourg competitive framework in business innovation and to promote substantial R&D activities. And yeah, lastly, for the good news, I should mention a few commonly used tax incentives in Luxembourg, namely the investment tax credits. So Luxembourg offers different tax credits subject to conditions, including tax credit for investment and operating expenses strictly connected to digital and green transformation. This is tax credit of 18%. And there is also a tax credit for the overall investment based on the acquisition price or production costs of new qualifying assets. And this rate has been raised to 12% this year, which provides substantial support for business investment. Well, so this overview of the Lux tax landscape was not comprehensive, but yeah, I will just say that there have been a lot of discussion recently against a few organizations and also by the government for the development of new tax incentive in Luxembourg, including discussions on tax shelters or deduction for the investors. The government has recently confirmed these commitments and proposed new tax benefits, such as reducing the CIT rates. So there is a kind of momentum here that we should be monitored, as yeah, it is likely to lead to a more favorable tax framework in the future. And that was all for the Luxembourg part. I hope this was useful, and thank you all for your attention.
Thank you very much, Cyril, Roland, and Victor, for your insightful and interesting presentation. I'm checking the Q&A function. I think we do not have questions to our speakers for now. Yes, but if you have any questions, please send them to the organizers. We will be happy to address them afterwards. And now I'm handing over, so I will stop sharing my screen. Now I'm handing over back to Atta for the Q&A session, for the general Q&A session. So Atta, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Anna. Thanks a lot. So as Anna already mentioned, now we are happy to answer any questions you might have, not just related to the final presentation, but of course, from the very start of the session till the end. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we will start answering them one by one. And I actually already see the first question, but before I get to that, I would like to start by introducing Chris as well. I see Chris is in the audience. Chris is the Flemish Economic Counselor for Ukraine at Flanders Investment and Trade. And Chris, if you would like to also switch on your camera and your mic, and if you would like to introduce yourself, we would be happy to hear from you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the introduction.
Good afternoon, Chris. We don't see your video, but if you would like to turn on your camera, you can maybe also start by telling us a little bit about how you are supporting the Ukrainian ecosystem. Maybe that can be the first question from my side.
Okay, so I think you've been listening to a presentation from my colleague earlier on. I was on the way over to Warsaw, where I'm based now. What I actually do is I'm the Flemish economic representative on Rebuild Ukraine. Is actually a coordination function with regards to anything that has to do with the rebuilding operation. I've been working from Brussels for about a year and a half, where we focused on anything that was launched from the perspective of international financial institutions. We built up a network with Flemish companies that were active or planning to be active within Ukraine. Since about 2 weeks, I'm based in Warsaw, where I will be the economic representative for Poland, but in combination with the function on Ukraine, where we will focus on network building in Ukraine itself.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Chris. And if you also have any questions specifically for Chris, please feel free to put them in the Q&A function. I'll address them to Chris as well. But in the meantime, I see a question about Luxembourg actually. So I'm inviting also the Lux Innovation team if you would like to answer this question, because I see that there's an entrepreneur, and the question is, I'm an entrepreneur at the starting stage. Would you recommend Luxembourg for me? How can Luxembourg's ecosystem support me?
Okay, so we can't recommend without not knowing from which industry you are, where you're located, what's your objective. So like again, we can summarize a little bit what already was said. Yes, Luxembourg support all types of industries in terms of startups, but Luxembourg is famous with cybersecurity, health tech, fintech, and space. But again, we're supporting all kinds of startups. Okay. And it, like how a startup founder taking into consideration which jurisdiction to choose is, yes, taxation, market, and as we said, Luxembourg is in the heart of Europe and for language speaking. So it's like it's hugely connects the answer to the objectives of the startup.
Yeah, and Ina, I also see like a follow-up answer that this entrepreneur is in fintech. So also based on what you said, I'm assuming it can also be one of the attractive locations for that person, but of course, depending on what their needs are. And Ina, as you are already on the stage, I have another question about Luxembourg, because someone is asking that are there any programs similar to the Netherlands Startup Visa program in Luxembourg, also or Belgium? The question is asking. So basically asking more about the government support structures for attracting international entrepreneurs to these locations.
Yes, we can share a link about answering to this question because it's not in Lux Innovation domain. And if you are bigger, like if you're setting up the office, we have a business development officer with whom you can be connected again via applying for this service in Lux Innovation website. So we will add this link and about visa link to follow up email.
Now that's great, thank you. And also maybe I want to add to that, because as part of another activity in the Seeds of Bravery project, we also put together a portfolio of soft landing programs across different countries, which is not public yet, but it will be public soon. So I would highly recommend keeping an eye on the UA Seeds website, because what we tried to do there was to also put together these kinds of similar startup visa programs in different regions, in different countries, but also other programs that help you soft land to those regions in the end. So I would highly recommend keeping an eye for that. I actually see a question for the Netherlands, so I'm going to take this one. So our attendee is asking, in the Netherlands section, you mentioned the startup visa. I'm curious to understand whether this visa is eligible for idea stage startups too. Could you please provide more details about the visa requirements? So of course, as Erasmus Centre for Entrepreneurship, we are also one of the startup visa facilitators. So I can give some more details about that. So usually the main criteria is the innovativeness of your business, and Homeira was also, I think, highlighting that very well. So that's really one of the first criteria that we are always looking for, whether you are bringing innovative value to the Netherlands or not. But at the same time, what is really important is your current traction. So in that case, whenever we are evaluating the applications, we actually always keep an eye on whether the entrepreneur has already launched their service or product, or whether they validated their service or product. Do they already have paying customers? And those are always really, really positive points. And we really would like to see them in the applications. So in that case, my answer could be not necessarily idea stage, but if you are in the phase where you are validating your idea with really concrete steps, then this program can also be a program and opportunity for you. But of course, it depends on the requirements and your specific situation. So I would recommend getting in touch with one of the startup visa facilitators that you find will be interesting for your case. So maybe I will just take one final question, also keeping an eye on the time. And Ina, maybe I will also address this one to you. So the question is asking, can you describe the general business culture a bit more? Is it risk averse or is it, I'm assuming this is asking, is it like more supporting the entrepreneurial vibe in general, or is it risk averse? How would you say you see it in Luxembourg?
So I would start like even broader. So Europe versus US. Yes, Europe is less risk averse. And Luxembourg, as you know, like Luxembourg is a trusted partner. So yes, taking risks is like on daily basis, no, but on the same time, we have amazing startup association here, like where real founders support newcomers, and like really they create not only like special meetings or even breakfast. I mean, with, for example, they have Ask VC or and other topics. But in general, Luxembourg as a country, it's a startup country because Luxembourg reinvented itself several times from farming to steel industry and to finance sector. And now we're reinventing ourselves again.
Yeah, great. Then I think this will be the final question, also checking the time. So I will slowly leave the stage to Olena to close the session.
Yes, thanks a lot. So I have the most rewarding role. It's to wrap up this workshop. So before we conclude, so I will share my screen already. So just before we conclude, I would like to provide you with some information. So we remind you that this workshop was recorded and it will be available on Seeds of Bravery YouTube channel. You will receive also all the presentation with a follow-up email, which will be sent to all the attendees and all the persons registered for the webinar. I would like also to bring your attention to our next market discovery workshops. So you can see them on the screen. So the registration link is the same as it was for Benelux Market Discovery Workshop. So we really invite you to join and to register for our next market discovery workshops. And then I also remind you that Seeds of Bravery provides grant for Ukrainian tech, deep tech startups. So our next cut-off dates for application, you can see them on the screen. And so you can apply via Seeds of Bravery project website. And then please follow up on our communication channels, so US Seeds or Seeds of Bravery. So you can see them on the screen, and you will also have the slides in your follow-up email. And I would like also to remind that Seeds of Bravery project has received the funding from the Horizon Europe Framework Program, and it is granted by the European Union under the European Innovation Council. And then, of course, we would like to thank all the team who was behind this workshop and who contributed to this successful workshop, we hope. So you can see those people on this screen. And then, of course, a very big thank you to all our invited speakers, to all our invited guests, and to the audience. So thank you so much for attending this workshop. We'll see you next time. And please stay tuned with Seeds of Bravery. Дякуємо, до побачення. Thank you and goodbye.